Saravi joined the Crown Prince's army, chasing his shadow daily, sneaking into Raven's bedroom, caught red-handed. This happened repeatedly. Saravi's stalking intensified. Two guards held her arms, forcibly removing her from Raven's sight. Finally, Raven swung his long sword. The blade pierced Saravi's chest. Blood splattered on the ground as she fell under the Crown Prince's sword. This was the natural ending. A black-haired woman lay on the bed looking at her phone. The oven emitted a continuous hum. Firelight flickered violently behind the glass door. The explosion instantly swallowed the room. Tongues of fire tore through the air. What happened? Flames burst in her vision. The heat wave distorted the air, consciousness fading in the bright light. The glass. A maid supported her shaking shoulders, urgently calling out, "Miss, wake up. Maid outfit. What is this? What happened?" Saravi pressed her forehead, supporting her heavy body to stand. The maid held her arm tightly. "That was terrifying. Miss, are you all right? Do you remember?" The oven exploded. Saravi opened her eyes, eyelashes trembling. "Where's this? Where on earth am I?" "I possessed the body of the villainess in a novel. The eldest daughter, Saravi Deprines." The maid busied herself by the bathtub, scrubbing Saravi's long, silver-white hair. "It's all over. Because this character is destined to die young." The maid pushed open the wardrobe doors, rummaging through the hangers inside. "What should we do?" "Miss, you barely have any decent clothes. You were so busy following His Highness the Crown Prince before. You didn't even prepare changes of clothes." Saravi turned her head sharply. "Saravi's dresses. So I specially picked out new clothes for you. This is your favorite style." Saravi spread her hands. "Wait a minute." Emily held up two long dresses, showing off dark fabric and lace. "Look, it's the sexy style you like. Please choose the one you like best." Saravi closed her eyes. Her body shrank back, hands crossed over her chest. "Are you sure I wear this?" Sunlight fell on the cobblestone road. "You absolutely refused to wear this kind of style before. These dresses are unwearable now." Saravi hid behind the changing curtain, only poking her head out. "I will change my clothes. Throw away all those old dresses." Emily froze in place. Emily looked down at the old dresses in her arms. Her fingers tightened. Mrs. finally regained her senses. The corners of Emily's mouth lifted. Her eyes sparkled. Saravi poked her head out from the edge of the curtain again. "By the way, there's one more thing I need you to prepare." Emily tilted her head, looking confused. Three guards stood in the middle of the hallway whispering. "Miss Saravi seems to have blown up the oven. The prepared meal is all ruined. Are we going to starve again today?" High heels stepped on the carpet, making a dull sound. "Is she stalking someone again?" The man turned to look at the end of the hallway. "What's wrong?" Saravi walked over, her long silver-white hair swaying, wearing a dark blue military jacket paired with a white short skirt. The knights leaned against the wall, staring at her back. Saravi passed through the ornate archway, walking towards the depths of the mansion. "This is the Crown Prince's office." Saravi stood before the door, her shadow elongated in the golden light. In the original story, Saravi pestered him relentlessly, eventually dying at Raven's hands at age 18. "Emily, how old am I this year?" Emily clasped her hands over her chest, looking panicked. "Mississippi, did you hit your head because you were too happy? You just turned 15. 15 years old. 3 years until death." Saravi swallowed her saliva. "I must change my fate before that moment arrives." Raven sat behind a large desk, the quill in his hand, sliding across the paper. Regarding Miss Saravi, Damien stood before the desk, bowing his head to report the situation. "I heard she blew up the oven while cooking, and then fainted." "The oven exploded? How are the others?" Damien straightened his back. "Except for the young Mississippi. No one else was injured." "That's great." Damien froze in place, letting out a soft sound of surprise. Raven raised his eyes, golden pupils flashing with a cold light. "Vice Captain, you should be used to the name Destian by now." Raven put down the pen. "Have you not met Miss Saravi yet?" Damien stood before the desk and responded in a low voice. "Not yet. You'd better not see her. Don't get involved with her. If you see her, stay far away." Damien bowed. "Understood." Raven leaned back in his chair, waving his right hand. "You'll recognize her even from distance, because that woman's whole body exudes a weird aura." Saravi held a plate, offering a piece of dark cake. "Eat it. This is cinnamon cake without cinnamon." Raven hunched his shoulders, getting goosebumps just recalling it. Just seeing that woman makes one exhausted. Raven covered his forehead. "Do you understand? Avoid meeting her face to face as much as possible." A knocking sound came from the heavy wooden door. "I am Saravi. May I come in?" Damien froze in place. Raven stared at the door. "Truly unfortunate." "Come in." Saravi pushed open the heavy, carved wooden door. stepping into the room. Are you ready to face the monster? Damien straightened his back. The Crown Prince's vice captain never complains. I will overcome any trial. The corners of Raven's mouth lifted, his gaze sharp, truly reliable. Then let me introduce you. This is the Empire's most. Damien's Adam's apple bobbed up and down as he stared at the figure ahead, falling into silence. The most terrifying monster in this world. Saravi clasped her hands in front of her, silver white hair hanging vertically to her waist, purple almond-shaped eyes, glowing faintly. I came to greet your highness. Raven's fingertips froze in midair. His golden pupils constricted slightly, staring at the woman before him in silence. Damien stood to the side, lips slightly parted, watching Saravi. Saravi placed one hand on her chest, corners of her mouth slightly raised. I came to take you to the dining hall. What? Dinner's ready. Raven's eyes widened. Cold sweat slid down his temple, staring fixedly at Saravi's smiling face. The prince's army. Destian has a question. There are no proper chefs here. Only a bunch of soldiers who are only good at fighting. Soldiers wielding weapons, put on aprons, standing side by side in the kitchen. Whenever they gathered to prepare meals, a soldier swung a kitchen knife, chopping fiercely at the table. Don't cut the cutting board too. Another soldier raised his fist, smashing it against his own forehead. I told you to crack the egg, not your own head. A soldier pulled a trigger. A flamethrower spewed a giant tongue of fire. That's a flamethrower, not a gas stove. The plates held scorched lumps, emitting purple smoke. This is the result, completely inedible. Not long ago, Saravi stood before the chopping board, quickly wielding a kitchen knife, slicing carrots into thin pieces. Emily stood behind, watching Saravi's movements. Miss is also very good at cooking. Saravi nodded in response. Yes. Saravi lifted the wooden cutting board, sliding the cut ingredients into the iron pot. Those people are picky to begin with. It would be bad if I ran away after blowing up the kitchen. Saravi lifted the ladle, scooping up dark, thick soup to her lips. Took a sip. Luckily, the taste is good. Cooking is my specialty. If I can use this to salvage the bad impression, the Crown Prince's favorability might increase. The black tray tilted. Dark brown, thick soup spilled onto the white cloth. Raven waved his arm, overturning the dinner plate in front of him. It seems your despicable methods have grown again. Raven gritted his teeth, golden pupils constricting violently. Although you are as foolish as ever. To think you'd want me to eat this kind of vulgar food again. Saravi froze in place, purple eyes filled with confusion. Again, Raven sat on the high-backed chair, hands pressing on the table. What are you plotting this time? Saravi took a step forward, her skirt swaying slightly with the movement. Her fingertips picked up a piece of the fallen ingredient. Saravi put it into her mouth, teeth applying force to crush it, making a crisp sound. Raven's eyes suddenly widened. What are you doing? Saravi chewed expressionlessly, throat sliding up and down as she swallowed the food completely. It's not poisoned. The taste is actually quite good. Saravi stood across the long table, purple almond-shaped eyes looking straight ahead. I don't understand what you're misunderstanding. This is just ordinary food made with fresh ingredients. It doesn't matter if you refuse to eat it, but please don't throw it away like this. Raven frowned deeply. Seems you're planning something again. He turned around and walked towards the heavy wooden door. Then keep trying, if you think it will work. But I will absolutely not be fooled by you. The door slammed shut heavily behind him, making a dull impact sound. Damien walked to Saravi's side, looking down at the remaining red soup on the table, falling into about a silence. Damien picked up the tray, picked up a silver fork, and put in his mouth, chewing the remaining food. Saravi stood aside watching. Saravi sat on the carriage cushion, watching the flowing light and shadow outside the window, wheels rolling over the gravel road, making a rattling sound. Emily clasped her hands in front of her apron. Miss, we have arrived at the residence. Saravi withdrew her gaze, responding in a low voice. I know. Saravi pushed open the heavy room door, purple eyes revealing doubt, letting out a soft gasp. Spires glistening in the sunlight. What a magnificent palace, worthy of the Empire's strongest family. Saravi stepped down the stairs, the metal buckles of her leather boots clinking. Saravi stopped in the center of the wide corridor, looking around at the gorgeous decorations. Is this my room? It's really too ostentatious. Emily bowed slightly behind her. Mississippi, I will go prepare your bathwater now. Saravi sat on the edge of the bed. This place makes one uncomfortable. Saravi swung her legs, the heels of her leather boots gently hitting the bed frame, making a dull sound. Saravi leaned down. What is this? Saravi's eyes suddenly widened, purple pupils trembling slightly. Is it a jewelry box? Saravi used both hands to drag the heavy wooden box out. What is this? Emily pushed the door open and entered. Mississippi, the bathwater is ready. Emily stopped in her tracks, her gaze falling on the floor. What happened? Emily walked in quickly, bending down to look at the wooden box in front of Saravi. Saravi pointed at the red ribbon tangled inside the box. Emily, do you know what this is? My memory is still a blur. Emily stared at the wooden box. That is the hair of that noble lady you once despised. Saravi froze in place, letting out a sound of confusion. The novel didn't describe this. Was it a part that was omitted? Saravi stared at the box. Why would I hate her? Emily lowered her head. The reason is obvious. Because she tried to seduce His Highness the Crown Prince. Saravi raised her hand to press her forehead. Just as expected. No wonder Raven would show that kind of expression. Saravi stared at the wooden box. I must apologize to her someday. Emily suddenly hunched her shoulders. Letting out a scream, Emily lowered her head. Mississippi, that lady has already passed away. Saravi turned her head abruptly. What did you say? What exactly happened? Did I do it? Emily closed her eyes. It's not a question of who did it. Her notoriety spread throughout the entire kingdom. Saravi fell in a deep thought. To think there was such a character besides me. She put an aphrodisiac in His Majesty's food, was caught red-handed when sneaking into the bedroom, then was exiled. Emily raised her index finger. You were extremely angry at that time, insisting that it was an unforgivable crime. We went to great lengths to stop you from going to kill her. Saravi froze in place. Wasn't the person sneaking into the bedroom me? That lady bore a grudge because she was rejected and poisoned herself right in front of His Highness. Her madness completely exceeded imagination. Although Saravi had stalker tendencies, she would absolutely not drug food, let alone commit suicide in front of the Crown Prince. Saravi froze in place, purple almond-shaped, eyes trembling slightly. What exactly is going on? The content has changed. Sunlight passed through the towering stone pillars, spilling onto the gorgeous palace corridor. Potted green plants silent in the light and shadow. Lord Saravi's cooking skills seem to suit everyone's taste very well. Miss Saravi will continue to be responsible for the meals from now on. Raven sat behind the table, silent. Damien spoke tentatively. Your Highness. Raven looked up, golden almond-shaped eyes revealing a cold light. Let her do whatever she wants. Raven put down the paper, leaning back against the chair. However, in exchange, Saravi stood before the kitchen stove, stirring the thick soup in the pot with a ladle. The content of the story is starting to change now. Perhaps I can avoid the ending of death. I must go all out. Emily walked in holding a tray. Saravi ladled out a bowl of soup. Want to taste it? Emily nodded vigorously. Emily drank a mouthful of soup, pulled her cheeks, and swaying left and right. It's so delicious. Everyone will definitely like it. Saravi tilted her head and smiled. Really? I hope His Highness the Crown Prince will also like it. Hope he can eat it today. Damien stood on the red carpet, conveying His Highness's decree. Miss Saravi, you have been permitted to be responsible for the meals. However, as long as you are in the kitchen, His Highness says he will absolutely not eat. Saravi froze in place, letting out a gasp of surprise. Does he plan to go on a hunger strike? The past stalking behavior has already made this relationship completely messy. The current apology cannot be conveyed at all. Saravi lowered her head in thought. If ordinary methods cannot move his heart, at least I must use a strong enough shock to show my sincerity. Damien looked at the silent Saravi. Calling her name softly, Saravi raised her head. In that case, Saravi pressed her hand to her chest. I will also go on a hunger strike. Damien froze in place. I cannot watch His Highness suffer. Saravi's face was pale, hands trembling uncontrollably. Before His Highness eats, I will starve to death first. Saravi supported herself against the wall, watching Destian practicing swordsmanship in the distance. How can he still walk around without eating anything? Saravi lowered her head and pressed her temple. So dizzy, need to find a quiet place to rest. Saravi's eyes suddenly widened, purple pupils constricting violently. Vision began to blur, cold sweat sliding down her cheeks. Saravi lost her balance, falling backwards, letting out a cry of surprise. A hand reached out from behind, steadily supporting Saravi's shoulder. Saravi whispered thanks. You were over there just now? How did you do it? Raven looked expressionless, looking at the woman in his arms. What are you doing here? Entry is forbidden here. Saravi woke up with a start, purple pupils trembling, looking around at the stone brick corridor. Sorry, I felt dizzy. Headache. Raven gritted his teeth. What an idiot. Raven reached out and grabbed Saravi's shoulder, fingers tightening forcefully. Don't misunderstand. Raven leaned down and stared into Saravi's eyes. No matter what you do, I will absolutely not open my heart to you. Saravi let out a muffled groan, brows furrowed tight. Raven leaned close to her ear, voice low. You murderer. Saravi froze in place, purple pupils constricting sharply. Oh, murderer? It seems there's still some things that I am completely unaware of. What does murderer mean? What exactly is this all about? Raven looked down at Saravi before him. What is with this tone of yours? Since when did you start wearing these clothes? Listen, even if you pretend to be calm, it only appears hypocritical. Saravi lowered her head. Must calm down. Confirm the things I don't understand later. Focus on the present now. Raven gritted his teeth, eyes sharp. Stop acting out this stupid drama. Be normal for me. Saravi raised her head, purple eyes gazing at Raven. I apologize for everything that happened before. Raven froze in place. What did you say? I promise I will never pester you again. Raven let out a cold laugh. Do you think I would believe such words? Haven't you been wandering around me these past few days? Saravi looked down at the ground. I indeed haven't appeared in front of you these past few days, and it will be so in the future. Please do not worry. Raven remained silent, scrutinizing the other person with sharp eyes. In that case, can we go eat together now? Seems it didn't work. Hunger strike is indeed a form of protest because food is directly related to health. You might feel fine now, but you will get sick very soon. So eat something. Saravi was unsteady on her feet, body falling forward. Raven suddenly reached out and caught Saravi's waist. Raven sat on the high-backed chair, holding a silver spoon, stirring the soup bowl. After that, I successfully persuaded the crown prince. Raven scooped a spoonful of thick soup and put it in his mouth. He suddenly opened his golden eyes wide. Seems this stuff hasn't reached the point of being inedible yet. Thank you very much. Saravi sat on the soft chair by the window, lifting the teacup. Murderer, did I kill someone? Saravi turned her head. Emily, have I committed a crime? Like killing people or something? Emily froze in place, then burst into laughter. That is absolutely impossible. Miss is not the kind of person who would do such things. Saravi stared at Emily's smiling face. Why deny it so quickly? Maybe I did something terrible in a place you don't know. Emily restrained her smile. Since Miss doesn't remember, then let me explain. Emily raised her index finger. Miss used to hate even bugs, but felt it was pitiful to kill them. Always made me let them go. Did I really do such things? Emily lowered her eyes. That was much more troublesome than killing them directly. It was simply like a chore. Saravi's forehead oozed sweat. So that's how it was. Sorry. You can deal with them however you please in the future. Emily waved her hands repeatedly. No, what I wanted to say is, Miss will absolutely not become a bad person who hurts others. Thank you, Emily. Emily bowed slightly. It was nothing. I didn't do anything. Emily walked on the stone brick street. I will go prepare ingredients. Saravi put on a black cloak and pulled up the hood, covering her silver hair. I also want to look around. Saravi stood in the noisy crowd, purple pupils scanning the surroundings. A man in a purple suit held up a worn-out doll, looking down at the commoner child in front of him. You're just a commoner. You don't need this kind of plush toy, right? From birth to the moment of being discarded, you're destined to be just commoners. The boy reached out his hands, jumping up, trying to grab the toy back. Please give it back. The man in the purple suit held the doll high. Can this rag-like trash be called a plush toy? It's suitable for starting a fire. Saravi stopped walking. Stop. The man in the purple suit turned around. Who are you? Saravi's purple pupils revealed a chill. How about returning that to him? The man in the purple suit stared at Saravi's face. After a moment of silence, he smiled. Do you really need this? The man in the purple suit loosened his fingers. The doll fell onto the stone brick floor. Then pick it up. The man in the purple suit reached out and grabbed Saravi's collar. What an arrogant woman. Who do you think I am? Onlookers stopped, staring at that. Silver hair and purple eyes. Whispering arose. The man in the purple suit's pupils constricted. His arm froze in midair. Cold sweat slid down his cheek. You're the Duchess de Prines. Saravi straightened her back, purple pupils looking straight ahead. Apologized to that child immediately and returned the doll to him. The man in the purple suit took a half step back. What? He is obviously just a commoner. Why meddle in other people's business? Saravi took a step closer. Did your family not teach you that nobles cannot bully others without reason? Passers-by gathered on both sides of the street, pointing at the man in the purple suit. Whispering sounds rose and fell. The man in the purple suit clenched his fists tight, fingernails digging deep into his palms. Damn it, this arrogant woman made me lose face completely. The man in the purple suit grabbed the doll and threw it violently at the ground. Hey, brat, consider yourself lucky. Be careful when walking in the future. If you have any dissatisfaction regarding this child, come find me at the Prine's territory anytime. The man in the purple suit trembled all over, scrambling to flee the street. Saravi reached out and gently stroked the boy's head. If you are bullied like this again in the future, you can come find me anytime. The boy smiled. Okay. Two monitors in the distance hid in the shadows. Eyes locked on the silver-haired back. Ironclad knights stood at the corner of the street, cold gazes permeating through the slits of their masks. Saravi watched the departing night order. I originally wanted to ask if the food suited their tastes. Seems they are in a hurry. Did something happen? Damien turned his head. Miss Saravi. Damien lowered his eyes. Recently, the alien races in the north seem to be causing trouble. I will be setting off to crusade against them in a few days. Saravi stopped walking. Leaving in a few days? Sounds like the situation is bad. Damien shook his head. It's nothing big. This kind of thing has happened many times. We just need to intervene and resolve it. Saravi lowered her head in thought. Since you're going to the battlefield, should I prepare a lot of jerky that doesn't spoil easily? Damien smiled. So you were worrying about my food. Bart walked over from the distance, waving his arm and greeting loudly. Hey, Saravi, are you going too? Saravi turned around. Uncle Bart. Bart stopped in front of the two. That is a primeval forest. Marching is very difficult. Saravi pointed at Bart. If I don't go, who will prepare the food? Bart laughed out loud, reaching out to ruffle the top of Saravi's head. Haha, if you can go, that would be a huge help to us. We need to prepare ingredients in advance. How many days do you plan to fight? Bart cupped his chin in thought. His Majesty will also be there in person. I think it shouldn't last too long. Bart looked at the figure in the black cloak. Your Highness the Crown Prince. How long will this trip take? Saravi froze in place. What? The ironclad knight took off his helmet, revealing short, silver-white hair, golden pupils glittering in the sunlight. Raven stared ahead. About a week. Saravi's eyes widened. Since when? He was actually right here all along. Bart stood with hands on hips laughing. I see. With His Majesty fighting in person, the mission will definitely end quickly. Truly grateful. Bart turned to look at Saravi. Did you hear that? About a week's time. Saravi nodded stiffly. Ah, yes. Bart leaned close to Saravi. By the way, you mentioned preparing some jerky just now? Saravi avoided Raven's gaze. Let me think. The shop seems to have spells to prevent food from rotting. In that case, I have to go learn some magic. Bart gave a thumbs up. Some shops sell ingredients that come with magic power. Saravi's eyes widened. Really? Bart scratched his head. Indeed there are, but the price is very expensive. Saravi lowered her head. Is that so? That was my ignorance. That was my first time stepping onto a battlefield. I never thought I would encounter that thing. Saravi stood in the wilderness, silver long hair messy in the wind, purple pupils trembling violently. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Saravi held onto a tree trunk, breathing rapidly. This is impossible. Something like this absolutely cannot happen. Knights passed through the bushes, leather boots crushing dry branches. Why is everyone acting as if nothing is wrong? Saravi stared at their backs. Are they really human? Saravi quickly caught up with Damien. Damien, can't we teleport directly to the destination? Didn't we teleport to the entrance? In a forest with mixed magic power, it is difficult to conduct large-scale teleportation. Saravi lowered her eyelashes. I understand. Damien stopped. If you feel it is too strenuous, I can report to His Highness. Arrange for you to leave the forest now? Saravi straightened her back. No. I'm Fina. Damien gazed silently ahead. Saravi pulled out a short dagger, hacking away the vines blocking the road. Damien walked to Raven's side. Your Highness, Miss Saravi seems to be pushing herself. Just leave her be like that? Raven glanced sideways. Since when did you become so concerned about a specific person? Damien bowed his head. Extremely sorry. Raven turned and walked into the forest. Ignore her. Focus on marching. Damien stood at attention and saluted. Yes, sir. Raven turned his face sideways. His peripheral vision swept towards the rear. Saravi knelt on the grass. Her hands supported her against the ground. She gasped for breath. Raven withdrew his gaze, staring at the dense forest ahead. I cannot be coddled. I am completely different from that willful Saravi. Saravi gripped the short sword tightly, stepping over the chaotic rocks in the forest. I am an adult. I can do this kind of thing too. Her foot suddenly sank. Saravi looked down at her ankle. A vine had tightly wrapped around her boot. Saravi clutched her shoulder. Cold sweat slid down her cheek. My shoulder hurts so much. It feels like it's going to split apart. The vine wrapped around her ankle suddenly tightened. The knights continued to walk deeper into the forest. The vine exerted force and drag. Saravi lost her center of gravity. Her body was yanked backward. Saravi fell on her back. Her pupils contracted in fear. Help! Save me! A strong light pierced through the forest. Saravi fell heavily to the ground. She looked around. Where is this? A silver-haired boy with pointed ears stood in the light and shadow, looking down at Saravi on the ground. Who are you? Saravi looked up to meet his gaze. The two confronted each other in the silent forest. The pointed-eared boy took a step forward. You are different from other humans. Saravi sat kneeling on the grass, raising her face. The boy closed his eyes, tilting his head slightly. How strange. I can hear the voices of ordinary humans, but I can't hear anything from you. Saravi pressed her hands against the ground. Here, can you read minds? The boy opened his eyes, looking down at Saravi. That is natural. The camp bonfire burned. Two knights sat around a wooden stump. Are we camping here today? It seems so. The scouts haven't returned yet either. Damien sat on a log, unfolding the map in his hands, staring at the complex route, falling into silence. Raven had his back to everyone. Where is Saravi? Where is she? Raven strode through the camp. His black cape rose with the wind. The knights on both sides turned to look. Damien looked up from the map, watching Raven's retreating figure. Damien quickly followed behind. Your Highness, where are you going? Raven didn't look back. To find Saravi. Don't tell the others. Saravi knelt on the grass. Where is this? Why did you bring me here? The pointed-eared boy sat opposite her. I know the purpose of your arrival. Your goal is to kill all of us, right? Saravi froze in place. Her purple pupils trembled slightly. What? Are you that? The alien race kidnapping humans? Elves? The boy suddenly turned his head. What? We elves would never do such a thing. The boy sat cross-legged on the grass with his arms crossed. It seems there is a huge misunderstanding here. Saravi gazed at the boy. Then there's no problem. The crown prince won't hurt innocent people. The boy's blue pupils contracted slightly. Is that true? I can feel it. There are large amounts of human weapons scattered nearby. Saravi stood up, looking at the tree shadows in the distance. I came here because I heard there were alien races hurting humans. If the elves haven't attacked humans, he definitely won't hurt you. The elf boy stared at Saravi. You can't lie. Even if I can't hear your inner voice, I know. Saravi paused. I can feel that emotion. I can also smell it. Saravi's eyes widened. Smell? The boy raised his head. Humans who lie have the scent of lies on them. Just like an animal instinct, heavy footsteps came from the forest. The ground trembled, startling the distant birds. The elf boy suddenly stood up. Danger! Hide quickly. Purple mist spread through the forest. Two demons with horns on their heads walked out of the shadows. I smell a human. The elf boy blocked in front of Saravi. Blue light gathered in his palm. Get lost. This is not your territory. The female demon stopped walking. The corners of her mouth hooked up. A weak mixed blood dares to try and be brave. Found you. Human. Saravi stared at the alien race ahead. Three demons appeared from the forest. Saravi suddenly reached out, hugging the elf boy from behind. Danger, we have to run. Grass blades were severed by a sharp wind, scattering in the air. A long sword pierced through the air and landed, penetrating the ground and blocking the demons. Raven stood sideways. You've done something outrageous again. Saravi cried out in surprise. Your Highness. Raven turned his head. Golden pupils revealed a cold chill. Raven swung his arm. The long sword drew an arc. The demons fell onto the grass, coughing up blood. Three corpses lay scattered. Raven sheathed his long sword, striding towards Saravi. Why are you here? And what is that thing? The sword tip pointed at the boy's throat. Did you bring Saravi here? The boy froze in place. His blue pupils trembled violently. Saravi suddenly rushed forward, covering the boy's mouth from behind. Actually, I was dragged here by vines. This child saved me. The elf boy rolled his eyes. That person is really annoying. His inner voice is too loud. Saravi hugged the elf boy tightly, letting out a dry laugh. He's actually a good person. The elf boy was trapped in her arms. Raven lowered his eyelids. Golden pupils contracted slightly. I don't like it. Raven grabbed Saravi's wrist. Let's regroup with the army first. Saravi abruptly pulled her arm back, letting out a short cry. She covered her left shoulder and stepped back. Raven extended his hand. Are you injured? Raven took a step closer. His gaze fell on her shoulder. Your shoulder is swollen. What happened? Saravi avoided his gaze, responding in a low voice. No, nothing. It was clearly you who injured it. Raven looked at the monsters lying on the ground. I will clean up the rest as well. Did they do it? Saravi waved her hands repeatedly. No, it's not like that. Before they attacked, your highness had already saved me. Look, I'm completely uninjured. Raven reached out and grabbed Zephyr by the back of his collar, lifting his entire body into the air. Did this thing do it? Saravi hurriedly stepped forward to intervene. It wasn't him. Please put that child down first. Zephyr struggled wildly in the air. Hey, let go of me. I'm not a thing. I am Zephyr. Raven held Zephyr with one hand, turning to stare at Saravi. Then tell me the truth. Who exactly hurt you? Saravi lowered her head. I heard it while exercising. Raven frowned. Exercising? Don't lie. I've never seen you exercise. You're always lecturing me to stay healthy. Yet every time after eating, I see you napping. More times than I can count. Saravi bit her lower lip. What did he see that? If I tell the truth, I'm afraid the atmosphere will become awkward. What should I do? Raven turned his face. I don't have that much patience. Raven lowered his voice. A dark aura spread around his body. Tell me the truth right now. Saravi froze in place. It was. Saravi's eyes widened as she looked at Raven before her. It was when your highness grabbed my shoulder just now. When you pushed me against the wall. I got hurt. Raven fell silent. Saravi suddenly covered her mouth, letting out a gasp. Did he use dragon tongue just now? That's too unfair. Raven looked away. A drop of cold sweat seeped from his forehead. I'm sorry. Saravi stood dazed on the spot, looking at the man before her. Raven turned around, still holding Zephyr. I will arrange the best treatment after returning to the palace. A shoulder injury cannot be taken lightly. I'm Fine. Just let a doctor or a priest take a look. It will heal very soon. All right, if the pain increases, tell me immediately. Saravi folded her hands in front of her, curtsying slightly. Thank you for your concern. Zephyr closed his eyes, pressing a fist against his lips. He coughed dryly. Can you put me down now? Raven loosened his fingers. Zephyr's feet touched the ground, stepping firmly on the grass. Zephyr opened his arms and ran toward Saravi. Saravi! Saravi bent down to catch him, hugging him in her arms. Zephyr wrapped his arms around Saravi's neck, turning back to stick his tongue out at Raven. Raven stared at Zephyr. Veins popped on his forehead. I really hate this brat. Zephyr leaned close to her ear. Did you know? Elves possess healing abilities. Saravi showed a confused expression. Zephyr extended a finger of his right hand, pointing at Saravi's shoulder. Your shoulder looks very painful. I will treat it for you. Raven suddenly swung his arm to separate Zephyr, the hand reaching toward Saravi. Don't touch her. Zephyr glared at Raven. I am treating the place injured because of you. If you really feel guilty, then don't. Now get in the way here. Raven stood silently to the side, watching the movements of the two. Zephyr leaned close to Saravi's shoulder. A faint light glowed on his fingertips. It might tickle a little. Please bear with it. Zephyr placed his palm on Saravi's shoulder. Blue radiance bloomed instantly. The light wrapped around the injured area. Zephyr stared at his palm, looking panicked. This is too strange. My healing magic definitely touched you. Saravi leaned in to comfort him. Don't worry. I seem to have a constitution where that kind of magic is hard to take effect. Why is it like this? In novels, elf magic's healing effects are clearly very strong. Raven turned around. His black cape swayed with the movement. Saravi, ignore him. We're departing to go back immediately. Zephyr suddenly spread his arms, blocking in front of the two. No, don't go. Why? Zephyr puffed out his chest, his gaze moving between the two. Because there is one thing you both must know. Zephyr's eyes widened, green pupils trembling under the sunlight. Actually, I am the leader of the demi-humans in this forest. Saravi's eyes widened. Leader? Zephyr lowered his eyelids. But I haven't completed the coming-of-age ceremony yet, so no one listens to me. The reason the demi-humans are running wild now, and the reason you came to this forest, that is all because of his problem. Zephyr raised his head. Please help me complete the coming-of-age ceremony. As long as it succeeds, this forest and the people will never be hurt again. Raven turned his head sideways. No, we do not interfere in the affairs of alien races, nor will we violate territory. This is an unwritten rule. Saravi looked at him. What must be done to complete the ritual? Raven suddenly turned his head. If Zephyr wants to come of age, he must obtain the approval of the elf god. But the god refuses to acknowledge me. Why? Raven held his forehead with one hand. Letting out a sigh, Zephyr lowered his eyelids. I think it's because I am not complete. I am a half-elf. I possess half the blood of another race. People call me a mongrel. Saravi fell into silence. Zephyr suddenly raised his head, light flashing in his eyes. But there is one other way. Zephyr tightly held Saravi's hands with both of his. If I get married, the god might acknowledge that I am an adult. Saravi froze in place. Raven crossed his arms over his chest, looking down coldly at the boy before him. Zephyr tightly gripped Saravi's hands. Saravi, please marry me. Raven and Saravi turned into rigid statues. Zephyr let go of her hands. If I cannot become an adult, this forest will remain in danger forever. Everyone will continue to get hurt because of it. Saravi looked down at Zephyr. That is, Your Highness, I absolutely do not allow it. Saravi reached out and gently stroked the top of Zephyr's head. He looked so innocent and cute. Isn't it a pity to reject him? Raven frowned deeply. Do you really intend to marry him just out of sympathy? Besides, he is just a stranger you met today. He is even a child. Zephyr suddenly lunged forward, wrapping both arms around Saravi's waist, burying his face in her bosom. Raven froze in place. His golden eyes trembled slightly, staring dead at the scene before him. Raven reached out and grabbed the back of Zephyr's collar, yanking him away from Saravi's embrace. Just because he looks pitiful, believing him isn't a good idea. Raven held Zephyr up, forcing the boy to look him in the eye. How old are you exactly? Raven narrowed his eyes, his tone revealing a threat. Before I force you to speak, say it quickly. How old are you? Zephyr shrank his shoulders, his eyes wandering to the side. 227 years old. Saravi froze in place. Her purple eyes dilated from shock. Elf lifespans are thousands of years long. The standards are completely different from humans. I'm still a child. Don't misunderstand. Saravi froze in place. A 227-year-old old kid? Zephyr broke free from the restraint. I didn't mean to lie to you. Saravi, please don't hate me. Raven loosened his fingers. Zephyr fell onto the grass, letting out a cry of pain. Raven turned sideways. So, do you still want to marry him? This 227-year-old geezer. Zephyr roared at the sky, his voice spreading through the forest. Don't call me a geezer. Saravi opened her arms to block between the two. Both of you calm down. Saravi gazed at Raven. Your Highness, our original intention for coming here was to suppress the rioting demi-humans, rather than fighting and bleeding. Isn't there a peaceful solution? Raven crossed his arms, listening silently to Saravi's words. Saravi turned to look at Zephyr. Since that is the case, we have no reason to turn a blind eye. If we can help, there is no reason not to cooperate. Why don't we go meet that elf god first? Perhaps we can persuade him. Raven closed his eyes, letting out a heavy sigh. Fine, then let's go meet that so-called elf god. Raven opened his eyes, his gaze sweeping towards Zephyr at his side. But if he mentions such stupid talk about marriage again, I will immediately raze this forest to the ground. Be prepared. Saravi smiled. Isn't it great to solve it peacefully? Zephyr stared at Raven. This guy's feelings for Saravi are unusual. If only he could be more honest. Zephyr walked to the very front, raising his arm to point ahead. This way. Saravi stopped walking, looking around at the scattered tree houses. This really is a beautiful place. The elf village was bathed in sunlight. Huge, circular wooden houses were distributed in layers. Vines wrapped around the terraces. Saravi looked around the empty streets. Why is everyone hiding? Is it because they aren't used to seeing humans? Raven was expressionless. They fear humans. Saravi tilted her head. Why is that? Raven looked straight ahead. A long time ago, humans carried out a large-scale massacre of demi-humans. Initially, it was just self-defense against radical demi-humans. But as time passed, the situation changed. This war gradually deviated from its original intent, eventually evolving into indiscriminate attacks. Before anyone realized, hunting demi-humans had become a form of entertainment. Humans captured demi-humans with unique appearances, selling them and enslaving them to death, showing them off like trophies. Raven continued walking forward. That is an old story now. Now, the law strictly prohibits it, but wealthy nobles still secretly trade demi-humans. In the novel, the reason Raven despised nobles was also because of this. A brown-haired elf hid behind a tree trunk, poking half a head out to watch the approaching strangers. Saravi stopped walking, her eyes curving into a smile at the figure behind the tree. Hello, I am Saravi. The brown-haired elf shrank back, pressing tightly against the rough bark. Zephyr spread his arms to block in front of Raven. Don't worry, that person is a separate matter, but Saravi is a kind person. Saravi bent down slightly, although I don't really want to be the center of attention. Zephyr held Saravi's hand, quickly passing through the shadows of the tree houses, walking towards the sunlit street. A young elf girl stopped walking, looking up at Saravi. Is it a human? Saravi let go of Zephyr's hand, slowly squatting down, looking the girl in the eye. That's right. Look, not scary, right? The elf girl's eyes widened, gazing at Saravi's face. Her originally tense shoulders relaxed. Elf children gathered around, leaning close to Saravi's hair. She smells so good. Her hair is beautiful like silk too. I really want to try braiding it. Saravi took out a paper box from her bosom. Do you like cookies? Where are cookies? Saravi opened the lid, showing the neatly arranged round biscuits. This is a kind of sweet and delicious snack. Do you want to taste it? The elf children each grabbed a piece and stuffed it into their mouths, chewing vigorously. So sweet. It's really delicious. Raven crossed his arms over his chest, standing in the distance, watching quietly. A green-haired elf man watched from afar. That person's aura is very pure, and she treats the children very gently too. The children surrounded Saravi, reaching out to touch those strands of hair. Look, her hair is sparkling. Saravi closed her eyes, allowing the children to play with her long hair. A gentle smile on her face. An older elf with a white beard walked in from the back. Nice to meet you. I am the village chief here. May I ask who you are? Saravi bowed slightly. Nice to meet you. I am Saravi de Prines. The white-bearded elder gazed at Saravi. Your aura is pure and stable, containing a flow of energy that humans can hardly perceive. Saravi raised her head. Ah, is that so? Thank you for your compliment. The white-bearded elder stroked his long beard, clearing his throat. So you want to see the elf god? Saravi opened her eyes wide, purple pupils flickering slightly. Yes, I very much hope to be of help. The elf god resides in the heart of this forest. That is the intersection between the gaps of the world. Pure energy gathers there. The white-bearded elder raised his right hand, fingertip pointing towards the dense forest shrouded in light and mist. 4 non-elf life forms. Only people who embody primal beauty can open that door. Raven frowned, repeating that term in a low voice. Primal beauty? Zephyr walked to Raven's side. Saravi will be fine. She is different from someone like you. Her soul is very pure. Veins popped on Raven's forehead, looking down and glaring at the short boy beside him. Zephyr showed no weakness. Intense sparks erupted between the two. The white-bearded elder straightened his back. The elf woman beside him held up a ball of light with both hands. In order to open the elf gate, a purification ritual must be performed first. Are you mentally prepared? Saravi nodded. Yes, please begin. The white-bearded elder turned his head to look at Raven behind them. What about you? Raven crossed his arms. Although I don't know the specific details of the ritual, I don't need it. Please perform it only for her. The white-bearded elder was silent for a moment. I see. Then everyone, please follow me to the altar. Saravi stepped forward, stepping on the soft soil covered in fallen leaves, passing through layers of bushes, walking towards the source where the light gathered. The white-bearded elder stood side by side with Saravi, facing the edge of the altar. The white-bearded elder extended his right hand, placing a purple crystal on the stone platform. Light spread from the center of the altar, shrouding the people standing behind. Raven crossed his arms, golden pupils watching the front. The elves clasped their hands together. Saravi knelt on both knees in front of the altar. The white-bearded elder stood behind her. Close your eyes. Face the darkness in your heart. Saravi obediently closed her eyes. Light erupted from the center of the stone platform, swallowing Saravi's figure. No matter the situation, you only say good. I've had enough of your coldness to everyone. What is the difference between you and those people walking outside? Do you really love me? I don't believe you still have feelings. Tears dropped onto the fabric at her knees, spreading into round wet marks. Saravi raised her head, purple pupils covered in mist. Tears slid down her cheeks. I thought these had already disappeared. Why? I clearly didn't do anything wrong. Yet people still get hurt. I don't want to hurt anyone, just because we are different from each other. You don't have the right to hurt me either. Saravi raised her head, purple pupils looking straight ahead. Strong light erupted from the center of the altar. Air currents swept up the surrounding dust. The light rushed towards the top of the forest. The white-bearded elder stood at the edge of the altar, declaring in a low voice, "The door has opened." A woman in white walked out from the giant tree, barefoot stepping over the grass. Silver white, long hair reaching her ankles. Raven stared at that figure. That is the so-called elf god. The aura is weaker than I imagined. Zephyr looked up at Raven. You can actually see the god without a ritual? What exactly are you? Raven turned his face. If you knew the truth, you'd be shocked. So it's better to remain ignorant. An ethereal voice echoed in the forest. That is the human possessing primal beauty. The white-clad deity revealed a blurred silhouette, standing opposite Saravi. What do you wish to convey to me? Saravi lowered her head slightly. Please grant approval to the patriarch ruling the various tribes of the forest. Let him fulfill his duties. The white-clad deity lowered her eyelids. All things have their time. When everything is ready, even without my approval, he will naturally be accepted as the patriarch. This kind of thing cannot be rushed by anyone. This is a trial he must undergo. Saravi gazed at the white-clad deity. That is indeed true. But Zephyr suddenly rushed forward, grabbing Saravi's arm. If we get married, you must acknowledge that I am an adult. Look, I brought the bride back. She is kind-hearted and looks beautiful too. Simply the perfect candidate for a bride. Zephyr raised his face. Right? Saravi, you said before that I was cute. Saravi froze in place. That is indeed true. But Zephyr leaned close to Saravi's face, the corners of his mouth rising up. Then will you kiss me? If we want to marry, we must kiss. Raven frowned tightly. He suddenly reached out and grabbed Zephyr's collar, lifting his entire person from ground. This is the final warning. Behave yourself. Wasn't what was said just now a bit strange? Or was it strange? Saravi lowered her head. How should I put it? Saravi reached out and pointed at the white-clad deity. You are too selfish. The three fell into a dead silence. Saravi closed her eyes, brows furrowed tight. You designated him as the patriarch, yet you don't permit his coming-of-age ceremony. The forest's chaos stems from this contradiction. Because he cannot come of age, he cannot succeed the throne. The races who lost their leader are running amok everywhere, taking away many lives. As the god protecting nature, do you think leaving the status quo is correct? The white-clad deity spread her right hand. Without experiencing pain, one cannot grow. That child is expanding his vessel. Others need only wait for the time to mature. Raven lowered his brow bone, golden pupils revealing a chill. He put Zephyr down. Do I have to sit here and listen to this nonsense? Zephyr stood steady, tidying his green cloak. I agree with his view. This is the first time we have reached a consensus. Raven turned his head to stare at the white-clad deity. Hey, you call yourself the elf god? Whether you want to test or shatter the vessel, do as you please. But don't cause trouble in my territory. Get lost to a corner of the forest and solve it yourself. I'm the crown prince of this empire. Don't play the unreasonable spectator in front of me. If you don't acknowledge him as the patriarch right now. Raven lowered his gaze, murderous intent reflecting in his golden pupils. I will kill you and personally support a new god to replace you. The white-clad deity turned her head. I am one with nature. Human for you to want to resist me. Truly arrogant to the extreme. Did you say nature? Raven spread his right hand, black mist surging in his palm. Then let's see which of us is closer to it. Black magic power rushed toward the sky, condensing into giant black scales. Saravi suddenly held her breath, her purple pupils contracting violently. The black dragon emerged from the mist. Red vertical pupils overlooked the earth. The white-clothed deity leaned back. Even the earth spirit could not withstand this power. Continue speaking. Wait until you kneel on the ground before listening to my teachings. The heavy pressure crashed down. The white-clothed deity's knees smashed onto the ground. The white-clothed deity lowered her head. Voice trembling, I understand. I grant permission for the coming-of-age ritual preparation. I will send down blessings for that child. The white-bearded elder's eyes widened. Zephyr's purple pupils were filled with astonishment. Purple clouds dispersed across the horizon. The magic ripples gradually subsided. The white-clothed deity turned around. This should be enough. I am leaving. Raven bent down, hands resting on his knees. Panting violently, sweat dripped down his cheeks. Saravi stepped forward quickly. Your Highness, are you all right? Raven suddenly swatted his hand away, body staggering backward. Don't come near me. Saravi froze in place, hands suspended in midair. Your Highness. Purple mist spread behind Saravi. Another illusory figure quietly emerged, pressing close to the back with a smile. Raven raised his head. Golden pupils trembled violently. His gaze locked onto that overlapping phantom. Raven clenched his teeth, golden pupils trembling violently. Red electric light crackled between his fingers. Stop. Stay away from me. Raven suddenly swung his arm, letting out a roar. Don't come near me. A red shockwave swept out in all directions. Saravi was overturned by the wave of air. Red light swallowed the forest. Smoke and dust rolled up, obscuring everyone's vision. Saravi fell backward onto the grass. Silver-white, long hair spread out. Saravi. Raven raised his head abruptly, golden pupils trembling, staring at the figure falling in the distance. Saravi. Zephyr rushed to the front, hands supporting Saravi's shoulders, shaking his body vigorously. Saravi. Wake up quickly. Saravi opened her eyes, letting out a low groan. Zephyr leaned down. Saravi. Saravi turned her head, vision gradually focusing. Zephyr. Zephyr nodded vigorously. It's me. How do you feel? Saravi propped up her body. What happened? Didn't you go to receive the spirit's approval? Zephyr put his hands on his hips. Raven suddenly lost control. He pushed you to the ground. Don't you remember? I remember. It's all because of him. That arrogant guy. Saravi turned her head to look at the young man beside her. So, the elf god finally recognized you. Saravi smiled. I'm genuinely happy for you. Congratulations. Zephyr suddenly straightened his back, tips of his ears turning slightly red. That's not important. Zephyr lowered his head, hands fiddling together. It really doesn't matter. Saravi stood up. All right. Saravi. Zephyr stopped, standing under the shadow of the tree. Saravi. There is something you must know in advance. Saravi turned around. What is it? That guy named Raven drives me crazy. He's like a bomb that could explode at any time. You must be careful. Zephyr turned around, ran quickly towards the distant forest, waving his arm, shouting loudly, Don't forget what I just said. Saravi raised her right hand. I know. Sure enough, there is no other choice. Hatred cannot be easily washed away. That was a mistake lasting for many years. I should have understood earlier. If I stay by his side, it will only bring him more pain. Then perhaps leaving is the better choice. Raven walked alone on a grassy slope. Silver-white, short hair shimmering in the moonlight. The white-bearded elder looked up. The stars are beautiful today. Raven turned his head abruptly, shoulders hunched from fright. The white-bearded village chief sighed softly, seeing the beautiful starry sky. One's heart always thinks of other beautiful things. What do you think of when you look at the stars? Raven froze in place. Golden pupils slightly contracted. Not necessarily beautiful things. Recently, only one person has appeared in my mind. The white-bearded village chief turned his head. Someone you've been thinking about all the time? That sounds like an interesting beginning. Raven lowered his gaze. Village chief. This is absolutely not the kind of thing you are imagining. That is the worst kind of person. I don't want to have anything to do with that guy at all. The white-bearded village chief showed a puzzled look. So you hate that person that much? That woman is truly hopeless and lacks understanding. Her values are twisted to the extreme. She is always selfish, making excuses for her rotten behavior. A through-and-through scumbag. However, just the other day, she underwent an earth-shattering change. She never paid attention to the week before, but today she saved them. Saravi stood before the kitchen stove, rolling up her sleeves. Everyone has worked hard training. Eating, these will restore your stamina. Raven stood by the door, golden pupils watching that busy back. She started dedicating herself regardless of the cost, completely like a different person. Saravi put down the tableware in her hand, turned to look at Emily beside her. If you're tired, sit down and rest too. She works every day, always considering others first. It's simply like she turned into another person. At first, I thought this was all acting, a posture put on to deceive me. She wanted to win my trust first, then lead me into a trap. I was convinced she was plotting a conspiracy. I would absolutely not be fooled by such methods. However, Saravi stood between two guards, looking up with a smile. That smile looked so real, even knowing all this might be a lie. I was deeply touched. Right in that moment, I actually started hoping all this was true. Raven raised his right hand to cover his face, letting out a heavy sigh. If she turns back to how she was before, I would feel even more unbearable than before I knew the current her. The white-bearded village chief stood aside, quietly watching this confused young man. I thought I could finally relax. When a person acts like a normal person, it's clearly much easier to get along with. Don't you think isn't it unfair for him to change back and forth like this? Village chief, this is absolutely not the kind of emotion you are imagining. This is just a traumatized man, going through painful torture. The white-bearded village chief looked up at the starry sky. Only those who possess primal beauty can see God. Do you remember this sentence? Raven looked down the ground. I remember. That was a very vague statement. The white-bearded village chief turned his head. Do you think it is too vague? Raven's body suddenly jolted. How did he see through it? The white-bearded village chief withdrew his gaze. Have you ever thought about the meaning of the word beauty? So-called beauty refers to a life being in its proper state. In other words, beauty is existing in its true and ideal form. The true and ideal form constitutes my everything. One day it will achieve balance and harmony, thereby moving towards completeness. That is the ultimate perfection of life. The white-bearded village chief murmured softly, "Beauty. Don't you think this is a moving word?" Raven lowered his head in contemplation. If beauty implies a person's true and ideal state, then the condition to see God, those who possess primal beauty, is equivalent to those who are true to themselves. Raven's eyes suddenly widened, golden pupils trembling violently. Then, this means the current Saravi is in her true and ideal state. Raven clenched his fist, so the possibility of her returning to that past personality is basically zero. The next day, with the help of the elf village, the expedition members successfully returned to the castle. Only Raven and I remained. Zephyr tightly grabbed the corner of Saravi's clothes, protesting loudly, unwilling to let her leave. Raven stood aside, golden pupils watching this scene. The others left long ago. How long are you going to tolerate his willfulness? Saravi squatted down. I will come back to play with you again. Really? Really? I promise. Saravi extended her right pinky, hooking it with Zephyr's slender finger. Zephyr raised his face, revealing a brilliant smile. Then let's get married next time we meet. Okay. Veins popped on Raven's temple. He turned and walked towards the teleportation array, departing. Saravi stood in place, extending her arm. Wait for me. Please wait for me. Am I the only one being left behind? Raven reached out and grabbed Saravi's wrist, yanked her violently towards himself. What are you doing? Saravi crashed into Raven's arms. Do you want to be left behind? The way you're standing here, you look like you've never used a teleportation array before. I was just distracted earlier. Raven looked down at her face. Don't agree to whatever others ask. Zephyr stood in the distance, waving both hands. Saravi, thank you. Saravi raised her right hand and waved gently, a smile on her face. Raven withdrew his gaze, turned his face to look ahead. The white-bearded village chief stood under the tree shadow, quietly watching him. Raven stopped, bowed humbly to the white-bearded village chief. The white-bearded village chief narrowed his eyes, the corners of his mouth revealing a slight arc. Light swallowed their bodies. The castle spires shimmered in the sunlight. A burst of strong light exploded over the lawn. Raven landed steadily. Saravi lost her balance, knees smashing heavily onto the grass. Raven looked down. I can't believe you are so uncoordinated. Did you lose your muscles when you hit your head? Saravi's purple pupils trembled slightly. Please don't ask too much. Raven looked away. I'm not interested. Saravi closed her eyes, tears swirling at the edges of her eyes. I come from a world without magic. This is my first time experiencing teleportation. Can I really survive here? Raven extended his right hand. How long do you plan to sit there? Get up. Saravi raised her face. Why is he suddenly so kind? He usually doesn't pay attention to me at all. Saravi took Raven's palm, borrowed the force to stand up. What is wrong with him? Is it too much stress? Saravi remembered Zephyr's warning. You should be careful. What if he really explodes? It was too late last night, so I couldn't say it. But I'm sorry I knocked you flying. Saravi froze in place. Purple pupils instantly dilated. Time bomb. Raven lowered his head and clenched his fists. I didn't mean to hurt you like that. Stop talking. Please don't force yourself. I'm fine. Please don't worry about me. Just treat me like usual. Raven frowned. Like usual? What does that mean? Saravi averted her gaze, voice barely audible. Yes, please. Raven tilted his head, golden pupils filled with confusion. Huh. Saravi clasped her hands together against her chest. Silver white, long hair spreading among the flowers. Purple pupils flickering with light. I beg you, hurry up and humiliate me. The knights suddenly turn around. Stop talking. What is going on? Who is that woman? Damien blocked them. It seems to be someone preparing a festival play who got lost. I will make them leave immediately to avoid trouble. Please step back, everyone. So it was for a play. I thought something big happened. Acting? Isn't this a bit too strange? Damien turned his head abruptly, temple twitching slightly. How many times have I told you? Don't speak nonsense in plain view. Saravi hunched her shoulders. I'm sorry. Miss Saravi, shouting such misleading words in broad daylight. It is simply too problematic. Your Highness, quarreling with a woman in public. This is too disgraceful. Raven turned his head away. She was the one who said strange things first. Damien waved his fist, roaring at Raven. That is not important at all. The order of the royal family and the territory depends entirely on the crown prince's dignity to maintain. How many times do I have to say it? Damien leaned back, suddenly collapsed onto the grass. Red liquid sprayed from his nose. Damien, how is his condition? The doctor pushed his glasses, letting out a groan. He just fell into a deep sleep. It looks like it was caused by sleep deprivation. Raven's eyes widened. You mean he just fell asleep? Saravi pointed at Damien's face, but he bled so much. The doctor looked down at Damien. Sleep deprivation can trigger various health problems. As long as he avoids stress and ensures sufficient rest, he will recover health quickly. The doctor looked at Raven and Saravi. In order for him to recover, cooperation from those around him is needed. I entrust this to you two as well. Raven crossed his arms over his chest. I understand. Saravi gave a dry laugh. Of course, no problem. Saravi walked in the corridor. Mr. Damien, is he really okay? Raven walked by her side. No need to worry. How can you be so sure? Raven looked straight ahead. Because I asked him. He said he has had insomnia for many years, but it never caused health problems. Saravi pressed her index finger against her chin. He actually got sick. He looks so steady usually. Is it insomnia? Anyway, increasing stress does him no good. From now on, those troublesome remarks, please say them where no one is around. Saravi froze in place. What does troublesome remarks refer to? Saravi leaned closer to Raven. I'm sorry. Did what I said earlier embarrass you? Raven clenched his fists. Are you serious? Or are you making fun of me? Saravi's purple pupils were full of confusion. I don't understand why you are angry. I just wanted to make you feel better. Raven stepped forward for my own good. So you want me to ignore you, despise you, and even insult you? Saravi spread her hands. Because you have always treated me like that, haven't you? I told him. There's no need to force yourself to act friendly. What is the problem with this? Is it because whom he is supposed to hate, am acting willing to sacrifice for him, so it makes him unhappy? If that's the case, then there is no need to worry. I'll make it clear right now. Saravi clenched both fists, purple pupils flickering with light. Don't worry. Starting today, I quit. I will completely disappear. I will absolutely not appear in your Highness's sight. Raven froze in place, throat tightening. What did you just say? Saravi closed her eyes, corners of her mouth rising significantly. As long as I don't appear before his eyes, it's fine, right? I should have thought of this sooner. I will return his freedom. Saravi suddenly restrained her smile, index finger against her lower lip. All right. And the kitchen. If I resign, who will be responsible for cooking? Saravi leaned in front of Raven. Before you find a new head chef, can I work for a little while longer? Raven was expressionless, silently staring at the woman before him, self-centered as always. Raven suddenly turned around, striding towards the depths of the corridor. Do whatever you want. You never listened to my opinion anyway. Saravi froze in place. This isn't right. Things shouldn't be like this. His reaction just now. Why did it look like he was hurt? I seem to have made a serious mistake. The magnificent palace stood under the sunlight, white stone walls reflecting the light. Saravi raised her right hand, greeting the two guards at the end of the corridor. Hello there. The two guards stopped. Hey, Saravi, tomorrow noon. The two guards looked at each other, letting out a cry of surprise. Where is she? Did he see a ghost? Raven stood behind the two. Are there ghosts in Destian? The two guards turned abruptly, bodies stiff, cold sweat flowing down their cheeks. Your Highness? No, we must have seen wrong. The guard pointed at the empty corridor. We thought we saw Saravi there, but that must be a trick of the light. Raven stood in silence. I know. Saravi hid behind the wall, right hand pressing on her chest, gasping for breath. That was close. I ran out to avoid the office. Turns out he was actually there. Raven, that guy. Getting close to him makes your brain weird. He's like a ticking time bomb. No one knows when he will explode. Saravi lowered her eyelids. That's right. I should keep my distance. For both our sakes. Saravi scratched her silver-white long hair. Speaking of which, if I bump into him while walking, trying to avoid him is also a chore. Is there no place where I can hide and rest? Saravi pushed open the heavy wooden door, walking between the towering bookshelves. As expected of the Imperial Palace, the library is amazingly large too. Saravi walked through the bookshelves, looking left and right. Let me see. Are there romance novels here? Saravi stopped, letting out a soft gasp. Saravi extended her index finger to touch the heavy books. This title takes me back to my student days. Does this kind of book exist in every world? One volume to master cooking magic. Shortcut to becoming a top chef. Sunlight penetrated the high windows of the library, illuminating the layered wooden bookshelves. Raven stood before a bookshelf, right hand holding a thick book with a red cover. Raven looked through the gap in the shelf, golden pupils slightly contracted, gaze locking onto the seat in the distance. Saravi sat at the long table, silver-white, long hair hanging over her shoulders, reading with full concentration. Really, have you completely changed into a different person? Recently, you always exceed my expectations. Saravi suddenly hunched her shoulders, hands clutching the book tightly. Your Highness Raven, why are you here? Why do I run into him wherever I go? Raven looked down at her strange reaction. Am I not allowed to be here? Saravi waved her hands repeatedly, body shrinking back slightly. It's not that. I was just curious what wine blew you here. Raven placed the book in his hand on the table. I have always liked reading, so I come to the library often. As for you, this is the first time I've seen you reading. What exactly happened? Saravi gave a dry laugh. Someone like me actually reading. This is indeed shocking news. I was just curious and walked in to take a look, and found this cooking magic book. Raven frowned, golden pupils staring at that thick book. Magic book? Yes, I heard that if I learn cooking magic, cooking will become easier, and ingredients will be easier to store. Raven looked down at Saravi. Didn't you say you wanted to quit? Why are you still working so hard now? Saravi hugged the heavy book tightly. Why do you ask that? Because this is my work. If I can make delicious food more easily and quickly, of course I want to learn. I see. Raven lowered his head, corner of his mouth hooking into a subtle arc, letting out a light laugh. A red-haired woman stood in the shadow of the bookshelf, corners of her mouth raised slightly. Oh my, I didn't expect to meet you two here. Raven turned his head abruptly. Saravi also looked towards the source of the voice, surprise written on both their faces. A red-haired woman walked over. Long time no see. Your Highness Raven and Saravi. The woman stopped in front of them, tilting her head slightly, green pupils narrowing. What exactly are you two chatting about? To actually be hiding here alone together. If someone saw you, it might create unnecessary misunderstandings. The red-haired woman leaned close to Raven. Aren't you worried? Raven turned his face to avoid the other's gaze. No, I don't feel there is anything to worry about. Raven turned around. I am busy. Excuse me first. The red-haired woman turned her head, looking at Saravi, who remained in place. How long has it been since we met? Without me by your side, you must be feeling very lonely. Saravi stared at the red-haired woman speaking. Her tone is so casual. Are we friends? Saravi gave a dry laugh. It has been a long time indeed. How long was it exactly? The red-haired woman opened her hand and patted her back. Heavens, how could you leave me alone and run off to travel for 3 months by yourself? You were clearly so sad back then, and now you've forgotten it all? What a forgetful person. Saravi hugged the book and shrank her neck. Is that so? I don't remember it all. The red-haired woman restrained her smile. Leaving that aside, your clothes and your makeup, what on earth happened? You look simply like a different person. Saravi straightened her back. Comfort is the most important thing, isn't it? The red-haired woman leaned her body forward, green pupils staring tightly at Saravi's face. Their gazes met in the air. But it's really unexpected to see you in the library. They don't sell skirts here. Saravi turned her head, just passing by. Thought I'd read some books. The red-haired woman let out a sneer. You're joking again. You used to hate books the most, always saying reading was boring. When did you start pretending to be a scholar? Saravi lowered her eyelids, fingers brushing over the pages, just suddenly wanted to read. Thought it might be interesting, maybe helpful for cooking. The red-haired woman covered her mouth and laughed out loud. Cooking? You're getting more and more interesting. Are you praising me or mocking me? The red-haired woman reached out and pressed on the book page, green pupils flickering. Anyway, this place doesn't suit you. Why don't we go shopping? Your favorite designer is right there. I heard the new season skirts just arrived. Let's go take a look together. Saravi blinked. Favorite designer? Who is that? I have no impression at all. Sounds nice, but want to read more right now. And I also want to learn magic. The red-haired woman froze in place. Magic? The red-haired woman stood up abruptly, pointing at Saravi and screaming loudly. The person who used to keep saying that for magic you just need to hire a mage was actually you? Raven hid behind a distant pillar. That sounds more like the usual her. Saravi lowered her eyelids. A drop of cold sweat seeped from her temple. How should I say it so she won't be suspicious? Saravi raised her head again. Recently I changed my mind. I might have been like that before, but the current me is different. Reading is interesting. Cooking is also very meaningful. As long as everyone likes the food I make, I feel very happy. Saravi lowered her head, telling the truth. Even though I'm reading, I don't know what is written on it. I haven't understood a single page so far. Saravi revealed a brilliant smile. Even so, I'm still very happy. Raven stood by the bookshelf, golden pupils watching the smiling face in the distance. Saying nothing, the red-haired woman lowered her eyelids. Shadows cast over her green pupils. Her expression instantly darkened. The red-haired woman raised her head again, a smile hanging on the corner of her mouth. Saravi, you look simply like a different person. The red-haired woman stood up. I understand. I won't disturb you today. Let's go out together next time. Saravi sat blankly on the bench hugging the book. Okay, Saravi, although I don't know what happened, but you absolutely cannot leave me. Saravi walked down the stairs alone. I should find a simpler book to read today. Are you going to the library? I came to find fashion magazines. It's the person I met yesterday. Seems to be called Rosalind. Since we met, why don't we go shopping now? Rosalind grabbed Saravi's hand with force that allowed no refusal to buy the works of that designer mentioned yesterday. Saravi hugged the book in her arms tightly. But I came to read. Rosalind lowered her head, hair covering her eyes. You rejected me yesterday too. Are we no longer friends? Saravi waved her left hand in a panic. It's not like that. Please don't misunderstand. I just really want to read. Rosalind's mouth corners rose silently. I knew she could absolutely not abandon me. Rosalind took Saravi's arm. In that case, you will accompany me today, right? All right, fine. Rosalind dragged Saravi forward. Hurry, let's go. Saravi stumbled forward as she was dragged, completely unable to keep up with Rosalind's pace. I can only read the book tomorrow. Rosalind turned her head, staring at Saravi beside her. What an idiot. Can't escape my palm at all. Saravi looked around. Although she said we came to see dresses, but I feel something is wrong somewhere. The purple-haired shop owner walked over quickly. Welcome, Miss Rosalind and Miss Saravi. Long time no see. Did you come over immediately hearing the new series was released? Saravi froze in place. Did the old me also come to this kind of place often? That me wasn't a normal person either. The purple-haired shop owner displayed the mannequin rack. This is this season's new masterpiece. How charming. Saravi stared at the dress in front of her. What on earth is this thing? Saravi stared at that weird dress, simply like a torn rag. Are those strange clothes at home? All bought from here? Rosalind stroked the fabric on the mannequin, turned her head to look at Saravi. The new series this time is very cute, right? What do you think? Saravi agreed perfunctorily yes. The decoration style is too weird. Rosalind pointed at the dress. I feel it suits you very well. Why don't you try it on? Saravi waved her hands repeatedly, took a step back. Better not. Rosalind pressed step by step. Don't say that. Try it. The purple-haired shop owner picked up another blue and pink skirt. Miss Saravi, how about this one too? It must be very beautiful on you. Rosalind pointed at another place. This one too is simply perfect. Saravi was surrounded by the two in the middle, sweat seeping from her forehead. No. That. Saravi suddenly waved her hands open, shouting refusal. There are enough clothes at home. I don't need it. Rosalind covered her mouth and chuckled lightly. Saravi, you are so humorous. The purple-haired shop owner clapped hands in agreement. You must be joking. Saravi lowered her head. I'm not joking. Actually, my pocket money has been spent. Let's go by next time. Rosalind turned her head abruptly. The purple-haired shop owner froze in place. What did you say? Saravi looked at their astonished expressions. Just said a common sentence. Their reaction is actually so big. Rosalind crossed her hands over her chest. You have no money? Saravi turned her face away. Father said if I spend money recklessly again, he will kick me out of the house. Rosalind revealed an expression of disbelief. The Duke actually said such words? Saravi nodded in confirmation. That's right. Was it a disguised mockery of me just now? Birds of feather. Saravi's friends are indeed all weird. Her taste is truly unique. Rosalind put on a wide-brimmed hat covered in feathers, turned her body in front of the mirror. How is it? Does this hat suit me? Saravi raised her head, gazing at the pile of colorful decorations, like a peacock spreading its tail. The purple-haired shop owner clasped her hands together. As expected of the young lady, your eye is truly sharp. Rosalind took off the hat and handed it to the shop owner. Thank you. I'll take this one too, and wrap up that one and that one as well. The purple-haired shop owner bowed and took the clothes. Thank you very much for your patronage. The wooden door was pushed open. The doorbell made a crisp clinking sound. The two walked out of the clothing store. The purple-haired shop owner bowed. We look forward to your next visit. Let's go home quickly. Rosalind stopped. Wait. Saravi looked confused. What is it now? Rosalind handed over a paper bag. Here, I chose this for you. Saravi froze on the spot. For me? Rosalind shoved the paper bag into Saravi's arms. Take it quickly. I couldn't buy you a souvenir during the trip. Just consider this as compensation. A souvenir from the trip? Was she obsessed with shopping because she felt guilty about not buying a gift? Saravi's pupils trembled violently. I appreciate the thought, but I really can't accept that outfit just now. What should I do in this situation? Rosalind lowered her eyes. Her voice was faint. Does this trouble you? It feels like I'm the only one in an unrequited love. Saravi froze on the spot. Memory fragments exploded in her mind. Countless accusations surged like a tide. I can't believe you have feelings too. Did you ever really love me? You've never truly loved anyone, have you? It's natural that no one loves you. I have indeed been indifferent to others. That is a fact. Saravi lowered her head, whispered softly, I am sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Rosalind was stunned. What did you say? Saravi gazed at the paper bag in front of her. I must convey my feelings. Otherwise, I will never reach the other person. Saravi took the paper bag. Thank you, Rosalind. I will cherish it. Rosalind smiled. That's great. I would have been very depressed if you didn't accept it. Rosalind leaned close to Saravi. How is it? Isn't it great? Saravi fell silent. As long as I don't have to wear this outfit. Rosalind's expression suddenly changed. How is it? Isn't it great? Saravi broke into a cold sweat. Yes, thank you. Rosalind returned to a smile. Wonderful. I knew you would like this design. Saravi stared at her. You're right. This is definitely a trap. Rosalind studied Saravi's face. Speaking of which, you haven't been wearing much makeup lately. Did you forget how to apply it? Shall I help you? Saravi froze. Rosalind tilted her head and smiled. Let's go to my house. Saravi gripped the paper bag tightly. Her purple pupils suddenly contracted. Now, Saravi raised a hand to her forehead, body swaying backward. So dizzy. I might faint at this rate. I'm tired. I need to go home and rest. Saravi picked up the shopping bag and walked toward the carriage. So, I'll be going back first. Rosalind watched the direction of the carriage. I wanted to play a bit longer. Since you're tired, then it can't be helped. Rosalind interrupted. Then next time, we have to play until morning. Saravi froze on the spot, face pale, said nothing. Saravi collapsed on the mansion's carpet, limbs spread out weakly, couldn't stand up anymore. Rosalind's smiling face flashed in her mind. Then next time, we have to play until morning. This sentence echoed like a curse. Saravi suddenly curled up her body. Cold sweat slid down her cheeks. Someone help. Sunlight spilled onto the library bookshelves. Rosalind's fingertips brushed over the books. These books are so boring. When is Saravi coming? What should we play today? Rosalind stopped moving, tilted her head to look into the gap between the shelves. Saravi hid behind the bookshelf, pupils constricted. Cold sweat slid down her cheeks. Held her breath, daring not to make a sound. I felt like someone was there just now. Did I see wrong? Saravi covered her mouth tightly with both hands. Must leave here quickly. Almost got discovered. Raven walked on the red carpet. Leather boots made a dull sound. Is your highness going to the library again today? 3 guards stood at the edge of the corridor, watching Raven's back. I watched him grow up since he was little, but never seen him slack off for a day. He's truly a remarkable person. Raven's golden pupils revealed weariness. Tired to death. If only I could take a nap like someone, even if just lying directly on the floor. Raven looked down ahead. Saravi was lying horizontally on the wooden floor, limbs spread out, just like that Saravi sleeping soundly over there. Raven looked down at the ground. What are you doing there? Saravi propped herself up with her hands. Your Highness. Saravi gestured incoherently. Raven looked down and scrutinized. So you went to the library. But Rosalind was guarding there. To avoid her, you had to run away. And worried about being seen by her at the window. So you crawl back here on the ground. Sarabi nodded frantically, tears in the corners of her eyes. Raven looked away. She indeed has a certain talent to annoy people with new tricks every day. Raven stepped forward. I was planning to go to the library. Sarabi instantly flopped back onto the ground. Is that so? That's great. Raven looked down. Is that all? Sarabi raised her face. Is there anything else? Raven clenched his fist, pressed it against his lips, and coughed lightly. Seeing you crawl across such a cold floor, I feel a bit sorry for you. Just this once. I'll lend you my strength. Sarabi propped herself up. No, please don't force yourself. Raven froze. I'll help you bring out the books you need. What did you just say? Sarabi lay on her side on the floor, resting her chin on one hand. It's fine. I'm already quite used to this place. Raven stared at the figure on the ground. She adapted that fast. Anyway, take care of yourself. Raven frowned, fell silent. Sunlight penetrated the high windows of the library. Raven stood before the bookshelf, reached out, and took down a few heavy books. Take care. Raven held his forehead with one hand, allowed a long sigh. Really, I specifically showed kindness. Yet she lay on the ground and rejected me, and finally told me to take care. This is simply rude to the extreme. Shouldn't this be lèse majesté? Raven opened his eyes abruptly. Golden pupils burned with anger. Clearly she was clinging to me not long ago. Why suddenly treat me like a hated person? Treat me. Sarabi holding a tray. Why won't you eat these cookies? Raven hands on hips. Because I don't want to. Sarabi's eyes widened. Too much. Your Highness, why do you always treat me like a hated person? Raven turned his head. Because I do hate you. Raven stood in front of the library bookshelf, staring at the book in his hand. I actually have no right to say that. Rosalind appeared, carrying a bag of sweets. Your Highness, what a coincidence to meet you in a place like this. I just baked some cookies. If you'd like, please taste them. Raven turned his head and looked down. Rosalind narrowed her eyes and smiled. Cookies? I just said I was hungry. His Highness Raven suddenly gave these to me. So lucky. I was starving. He must be very busy right now. Stop joking. Eat the cookies quickly. Ugh, disgusting. What is this stuff? Tui. I fell into His Highness's trap. Did I do something to make him hate me? Did he discover the prine's family name? I remember now. It was his masterpiece. A heavy book pressed down on Sarabi's head. Sarabi froze. I actually didn't know before, resulting in driving Damien to a corner. Must go apologize later. Sarabi shrieked and hunched her shoulders. Your Highness, what did you return? What should be done with that forgetful boy? Raven holding the red book. Let me think. Should I cut off his head? Sarabi froze. Allowed a short gasp. Raven's mouth curved up, showing a smile. Just a joke. Sarabi let out a long breath. Scare me to death. Sarabi hunched her shoulders, heart beating wildly, being told that by someone who can really kill you, even knowing it's a joke. But it's still terrifying. Raven sat down smoothly. Since I scared you, I'll tell you something interesting. Did you know? Sarabi looked confused. From that spot in the library, you can't see here. Sarabi's eyes snapped open, showing a shocked expression. Raven handed over the heavy red book. This is the one you wanted to read, right? Sarabi opened her mouth wide. Yes. But how did you know? You kept mumbling about wanting to learn cooking magic. Sarabi pressed her hands on the ground. How do you even know that? Raven held up the book in his hand. Of course I know. Nothing in the Destian territory can be hidden from me. Sarabi stared at the book cover. Should I take it? Raven frowned slightly. What are you doing? Sarabi suddenly straightened her back, pushing her hands forward forcefully. I'm fine. Take it quickly. I can't. Why can't you? Sarabi squeezed her eyes shut, waving her hands and screaming loudly. Because I'm trying hard to keep a distance from your Highness. Staying by my side is dangerous. This is to protect your Highness. Please understand. Raven froze. You're always saying absurd things. Explain it clearly. Sarabi lowered her eyes, covered half her face with her hand. Silence for a long time. The thing is, if I stay by your side, your emotions will become unstable. You will turn into a time bomb that could explode at any moment. Raven messed up the hair on his forehead and let out a cold laugh. So that elf told you to stay away from me? Yes. Raven roared at Sarabi. Wake up. You're actually being played by a kid's words. Sarabi shrank her neck and dodged backward. But elves have sharp intuition. They can read human emotions, can't they? He said you only become unstable when I'm around. Of course I'd be unstable. In that forest full of dangers, you were the only civilian. Wouldn't it be strange if I didn't watch you constantly? Sarabi clasped her hands over her chest. I didn't know you thought that deeply. I thought you hated me. Raven shoved the red book into her arms. Don't misunderstand. I'm restricted by my status as a prince. Putting aside personal feelings, protecting the people is my duty. The power I possess is completely different from ordinary citizens. This is nothing special to me, nor is it out of affection for you. So don't get the wrong idea. Sarabi smiled. Of course, I didn't misunderstand. Raven clenched his fist. That elf actually spread such absurd rumors. I only let him off because he's a child, actually taking me for a fool. Needs a lesson. I should go to the forest right now. Cold sweat on Sarabi's forehead. What to do? Is this the only magic book? Raven made a questioning nasal sound. Sarabi took the book. Sarabi held the red book, smiling. It would be great if there were more books like this. The more books, the more helpful for learning. Too bad I can't go to the library. Such a big problem. Sarabi stole a glance sideways, observing the other's reaction. How about that? Raven remained silent, staring at Sarabi. Do you need more? Sarabi rejoiced internally. Success. Raven turned his head to look out the window. Have you learned magic before? I've never heard of it. Sarabi shook her head. No, this is the first time. Raven's eyes widened. Then why read books? Sarabi tilted her head. Because I want to learn magic. How to learn? Raven looked at Sarabi. The atmosphere stagnated. Raven held his forehead. Not a long sigh. I'm asking, since you've never learned magic, how could you understand it? You won't comprehend the content of the book at all. Have you taken a magic test? Sarabi froze, mouth twitching, showed an awkward smile. Magic test? A trace of helplessness appeared in Raven's eyes. To learn magic with me, you must possess one thing first. That is to confirm if you have magic power. That is, using the power of magic. Finally, my turn to take a magic test. Sarabi stood before a tall wooden door. Can we measure magic here? Yes, but before that, you have to do one thing. Sarabi tilted her head. What is it? Raven reached out, pressed on Sarabi's shoulder. A stream of blue light burst from his palm. The light instantly covered her whole body. Sarabi opened her eyes wide, watching her surroundings. The light dissipated. The pain is gone? Raven retracted his hand. Pain disappeared, right? I've been practicing healing magic. Sarabi moved her shoulder. Clench your fists, yes. I feel more energetic than before. How'd you do it? Raven turned around. It's nothing special. As long as you learn magic, you can do it too. Sarabi smiled. I really want to try it soon. Sarabi bent down, staring at the stone on the table. Do I lift this? Correct. Did you heal my shoulder just to make me do this? Raven crossed his arms. No need to thank me. This looks like an ordinary stone, but the stronger the magic, the lighter it becomes to lift. Don't underestimate it, or you'll get hurt. People with weak magic can't move it at all. Sarabi swallowed saliva, eyes locked onto the black stone. Sarabi extended her right hand. 5 fingers spread to grip the black stone. Sarabi exerted force suddenly. The black stone instantly left the ground. Raven's eyes widened. Loud a gasp. Sarabi held the black stone high, fingertips pinching the edge of the stone. This feels like an ordinary stone. Are you sure you didn't take the wrong one? Sarabi tossed and caught the black stone casually. Raven froze on the spot. Impossible. That stone has never left its place. Raven stared at Sarabi, recalling the moment the elf magic failed. Could it be? Sarabi, pinching the black stone, turned to look at Raven. Your Highness? Raven held his chin, eyes locked on the black stone. We should do some other tests. Sarabi blinked, showing a confused expression. Raven led Sarabi through a magnificent archway. Dozens of mages in robes were gathered here. Noisy discussions came from the crowd. Why did your Highness summon all the court mages? I haven't left the lab in ages. The sunlight is so blinding. Sarabi looked around. Mages pulling their hoods, whispering complaints. The atmosphere here is weird. What exactly is happening? Is it too late to run away now? Raven crossed his arms. Nothing big. The test starts now. Sarabi stared at the dense crowd. Gathering so many people is definitely not a small matter. What kind of test are we doing? Raven extended his index finger. To test. What kind of person or what kind of magic is effective on you? I will have them cast magic on you. Sarabi jerked half a step back, hands protecting her chest. Are you treating me as a test subject? Raven held his chin, corners of his mouth slightly raised. Pretty much like that. Sarabi hunched her shoulders, body frozen in place. Mages pushed and shouted behind her. Can we use magic freely? Seems so. Quick, line up. Should I turn her into a dog? Then I'll turn her into a cat. You mean cast spells on that woman? To see if the magic gets neutralized? Correct. Who created this magic? I don't know what the meaning of this is. Do they want us to research neutralization technology? Isn't the defensive magic we created enough? Just a few days ago, when updating the defense system, you even praised us. What is wrong with him exactly? An old mage turned abruptly, roared at the mages behind him. I don't know either. He won't say anything. If you're curious, go ask him yourself. Raven pressed Saravi's shoulder. Thank you all for your cooperation. I am researching a type of magic. Need top mages for testing. I will pay a generous reward. The mages looked at Raven with tears in their eyes. Your Highness. The mages raised their staffs high, erupted in cheers. For your Highness, I will do my best. Pour in all my energy. Time to show true strength. A mage stepped forward. Then let us begin. Sarabi stood still, watching the mage in front of her. Silent, the mage opened a spell book. The tip of the staff bloomed with purple light. Swung the staff, violently grow. Hair. Sarabi stood quietly. Hair didn't move a bit. The mage froze. Nothing happened. The mage held the staff high. Tip blooming with strong purple light. Turned into a cat. No reaction at all. The mage swung the staff again, pointing at Sarabi. Turn into a man. Still no change. As expected of your Highness. Experimental magic is so. Perfect. Raven waved to the crowd. Thank you for your hard work. Your names will surely be recorded in history. The mages gathered around Raven, eyes full of adoration. Such humility is admirable. Then we shall take our leave. The heavy doors slowly closed, making a dull thud. Raven raised a hand to his forehead, eyes tired, facing so many people. Why is it so tiring? Sarabi looked up at him. Is he an introvert? Raven lowered his hand. Gaze fell on Sarabi's face, although I expected it. Your body is more special than I imagined. You possess a constitution that repels or nullifies magic. Sarabi's pupils shrank slightly, looking straight at the other. Raven continued, whether it's elf healing arts or mage's magic power, none have any effect on you. No one's magic can affect you. Raven extended his thumb, pointing at himself. Except for one person. That is me. Sarabi curled into a ball. Why? Raven stared at Sarabi's face. Your face is written with why. He noticed we were having a normal conversation. To be honest, I don't know the reason either, but it is an indisputable fact that only my magic can affect you. Sarabi lowered her eyelids. Is it because I'm a possessor, so it glitched? Did Sarabi's paranoid love evolve the body, making it only accept Raven? No, that's not the point right now. Sarabi suddenly raised her right hand. Wait, does that mean I can't learn magic? Constitution repelling magic power. Raven turned around. That's different. It's just that others' magic can't affect you. As for you using your own magic, that's another matter. Sarabi froze, let out a short gasp of surprise. Raven added, of course, provided you have magic power. Sarabi blinked, but that's strange. I could use the teleportation magic created by others before. That is magic that connects space and moves objects. Magic power doesn't enter the human body, so it works on you. Sarabi looked thoughtful. I see. Sarabi held up the heavy green spell book, fingertips stroking the text on the cover. Then can I learn the magic in this book? Raven walked ahead. That's like a child who can't even hold a pen, yet wants to write a novel. Sarabi trotted behind, letting out an awkward laugh. I just want to learn quickly. Rosalind stood at the end of the long corridor, watching the backs of the two leaving with cold eyes. Since you want to learn so much, I will teach you starting tomorrow. Come to my office during break time. This is an order. Sarabi froze, let out a short exclamation. Sunlight penetrated the towering domed palace, spilling onto the intricate carved curtains. For someone who knows nothing, this book is too hard to read. Raven bit the quill holder, opened the green book in his hand. He picked up a book with a colorful sticker on the cover. If she finds it difficult, adjust the difficulty to this level. But it should be fine. A knock sounded. Raven quickly closed the book, sat upright, hands crossed against his chin. Gulmeen. The door was slowly pushed open. Raven looked up at the door, eyes sharp. Rosalind stood at the door, hands tightly clenched at her chest. Your Highness, what should we do? Sarabi, she. Raven's pupils suddenly contracted, gaze solidified in midair. Raven suddenly propped himself on the desk. The wooden chair shook violently behind him. What happened? Sarabi, what's wrong with her? Rosalind covered her face and wept. She won't play with me. Raven froze. The room fell into dead silence. Raven sat back in his seat. I'm busy. Please leave. Rosalind wouldn't give up. Please listen to me. Sarabi walked alone in the long corridor. Leather shoes stepped on the red carpet, making soft sounds. Is this really okay? Raven indeed became gentler, but thinking of the original plot still makes one worry. Sound of a door opening rang out. Sarabi stopped. Rosalind was pushing the door to come out. Are you sure it's really fine? Sarabi quickly hid behind the wall. This is a very serious matter. Sarabi's behavior lately is too strange. Raven sat at the desk, looking down, reviewing documents in hand. Rosalind stood by the table, waving her arms. Your Highness must know this. You will definitely be shocked after hearing it. Did you know? Rosalind raised her head. Sarabi actually plans to cook personally. It's simply too absurd. Rosalind turned around. You don't look surprised at all. Raven looked up, gazed straight ahead. You haven't left yet? Sarabi leaned against the wall outside the door, head down staring at the floor. What should I do? Go back directly now? Please consider it again. Rosalind slammed both hands on the table. Do you really think it's okay? Rosalind stared into Raven's eyes. Because of that, Sarabi, you've experienced quite a few interesting things, haven't you? All thanks to her. Rosalind's mouth curved up, like drugging your food. Rosalind cupped her cheek, corners of her mouth hooked upward. Can't believe you actually let your guard down around her. I'm just worried about you. Your Highness. Raven lowered his eyelids. A cold light revealed in his pupils. I haven't become weak enough to need you to worry. Raven straightened his back. I won't pursue the crime of you trespassing. Get out immediately. Rosalind rested her chin on one hand, mouth curved into an arc. About that woman, don't you think it's tragic? What a pity. She just had tea with your Highness. Sarabi killed her for that. Rosalind leaned close to Raven. I'm talking about Mariette. Sarabi's eyes suddenly widened, pupils trembling in the shadows. Emily looked down and wrung her hands. Simply indescribable. In this country, no one doesn't know her. You mean there's someone else? As crazy as Sarabi? She drugged the Crown Prince's food and attempted to sneak into the bedroom. Ended up being caught on the spot and kicked out. Emily held up a finger, closed her eyes and sighed. At that time, the young lady went crazy, screaming that it was a crime. We took great effort to stop you. Didn't let you rush over to kill that woman. Sarabi froze. Wait, the person who sneaked into the bedroom wasn't Sarabi? That woman committed suicide by taking poison in front of the Crown Prince after being rejected. This is not on the same level of crazy. Sarabi is at most a stalker. She would never drug him, let alone commit suicide in front of the Crown Prince. What was that woman's name? You mean her? It was Mariette. Sarabi suddenly covered her mouth. Impossible. Did I really kill her? Although not the current me, but the original Sarabi. But this is still chilling. This is no longer in the category of a crazy woman. I actually possessed a murderer. Sarabi closed her eyes. The image of the original owner laughing wildly appeared in her mind. I'd rather turn back into the ordinary lunatic in the original story. This shock is just too big. Sarabi raised a hand to press her forehead. Not only poison Mariette, Rosalind leaned in close, lowering her voice. She even put aphrodisiacs in the food and attempted to attack your Highness. Really don't know where she gets the nerve to continue staying by your side. Sarabi closed her eyes. Tears slid down her cheeks. So the one who drugged him was also me. She really was a ruthless character. If not for the Prince family, Sarabi would have lost her life long ago. Isn't that tragic? Aren't you Sarabi's friend? Looking at your attitude, seems I judged wrong. Rosalind suddenly pulled back her hand and covered her mouth. Rosalind waved her hands desperately. What are you saying? Sarabi is my precious friend. Just can't let there be another victim like Mariette. Rosalind pressed her fingertips together, eyes red. I'm just worried about my dear friend. Afraid she will go astray again. That is all. Raven sat silently, eyes cold, truly disgusting. Talking to this woman makes my skin crawl. Raven leaned back in his chair. You are as meddlesome as ever. Rosalind looked down, playing with her fingertips. That's because I'm naturally full of sympathy. Raven's mouth curved slightly, revealing a cold smile. Right? I almost forgot. Raven raised his hand, fingers running through his silver-white short hair. Thanks to you. Reminded me of many forgotten things. You might still be of some use to me. Accept my gratitude. Rosalind closed her eyes, hands placed in front of her. I am deeply honored to be of help to you. Raven turned his head. Government affairs are piling up. I cannot spare any more time. You will be given the reward you deserve later. A considerate lady like you should understand, right? Rosalind covered her cheek. Oh my, I really didn't realize. I took up so much of your precious time. I will leave now. Rosalind lifted her skirt and curtsied. Rosalind stopped and looked ahead. It's Lord Damien. Rosalind lifted her skirt and curtsied. He looks decent. Pity he's just the Crown Prince's subordinate. Rosalind walked away in high heels. Her back disappeared around the corner of the corridor. Damien stopped in front of Sarabi. Look down at her, are you all right? Sarabi tightly gripped the fabric of her collar with both hands. You heard everything, right? Damien looked away. I don't know what you were referring to. Sarabi lowered her head. About me being a murderer and a predator. Or you already knew, right? Silence fell all around. Damien lowered his eyes. Yes, I know. Since that is the case, things become simple. Sarabi suddenly stepped forward, grabbing Damien's right arm tightly with both hands. Come with me. Let's find a place with no people to talk. Damien froze in place. Actually, I hurt my head a while ago. Damien looked down at her. Do you mean the time the kitchen exploded? Saravi nodded in confirmation. Since then, my memory has become blurry. My current situation puts me in a difficult spot. Damien was silent for a moment. I understand. The two stood side by side in the sunlight. Silence fell between them. Damien broke the dead silence. What exactly can I do for you? Saravi turned around abruptly. Please tell me everything you know. All the details about that incident. Before I came to Destian, I heard a rumor. A noble lady attempted to attack the crown prince. She put an aphrodisiac in the food and snuck into the crown prince's bedroom. After being rejected by the crown prince, she committed suicide on the spot. That name matches what Rosalind mentioned earlier. It was Mariette. Saravi stared at Damien's profile. You just said at that time. Damien nodded in response. Yes, I only learned the hidden truth of this matter after I started assisting Lord Raven. Saravi held her breath. Hidden truth? What exactly is it? Damien lowered his voice. The person who snuck into His Highness's bedroom that day actually wore white gloves. A hand tightly gripped the golden door handle. Fingertips trembled from the exertion. The lock made a heavy metallic clank. Raven pushed the door open, poking his head out from the crack. Who is it? Raven questioned the three servants in front of him. Aren't you responsible for poison tasting? What does it mean to break in at midnight? The maid crossed her hands over her chest, her shoulders trembling violently. Your Highness. The maid knelt on both knees. It is wonderful that you are safe and sound. Raven looked down at the kneeling maid. What did you say? There was an aphrodisiac in the food I ate. I was worried Your Highness encountered a mishap. Seeing you safe and sound, I can finally relax. This happened precisely because Your Highness refused the poison tasting. Raven put his hands on his hips, looking down at the servants before him. Have you forgotten I defeated a dragon? What is there to worry about? The maid suddenly looked up, her voice trembling. No, the maid burst out in a shout. You absolutely cannot take this matter lightly. Any negligence could cost us our lives. The maid suddenly realized she had misspoken. She covered her mouth with both hands, letting out a gasp. The maid knelt on the ground again, her forehead pressed tightly against the floor. Terribly sorry. I overstepped. Please forgive me. Raven looked down at the ground, silent. Raven reached out and grabbed the maid's wrist, pulling her up from the ground. I'm not angry. Raise your head. When have I ever punished you? Tears hung in the corners of the maid's eyes. But no one else knows about this. I won't tell anyone. Don't worry. The maid and her colleagues bowed. Thank you very much. Raven spread his hands. I should be the one apologizing. I promise never to refuse poison tasting from now on. The maid and servants clenched their fists, eyes shining. Many thanks, Your Highness. If you feel any discomfort, please inform us immediately. Raven lowered his arms, responding in a low voice. Got it. Raven walked toward the door. No matter what I say, it's useless. To them, the meaning of existence is for me to sit securely on my throne without a scratch. Raven leaned against the wall, arms crossed over his chest, closing his eyes in thought. Raven suddenly turned his head to look at the closed door. Who's there? Raven pushed the door open. Saravi stood in the middle of the corridor. It really is you. Raven raised a hand to touch his forehead. I expected it, but didn't think you'd go this far. Saravi took a step forward. Is there anyone suspicious? What? Saravi frowned, raising her voice. I'm asking if there's anyone suspicious, or if anyone tried to attack you. What on earth are you talking about? A dark shadow appeared behind him. Saravi reached out and pushed Raven aside. Wait, hey, what act is this? I know you're delirious, but there's a limit to everything. Get out immediately. Saravi suddenly turned her head to look out the window. A figure in a cloak flashed by, disappearing at the edge of the terrace. Saravi rushed to the window, hands bracing against the stone railing. Who was that? Raven stood behind her, lowering his eyes and letting out a long sigh. Saravi stared at the long hair on the ground. It was a woman. There was definitely someone here just now. You didn't let anyone in, right? Someone broke in. Enough. Raven exploded with a shout. Saravi tightly clutched that lock of red hair. This isn't a lie. Someone was really here. Raven turned his back. Take her away. Two guards stepped forward. Saravi struggled, shouting Raven. Saravi was dragged backward by the guards. It's true. Believe me, Raven. Someone was hiding in the bedroom just now. Raven walked into the room, his back disappearing behind the door. Raven. Saravi's shouts were cut off in the corridor as the heavy door shut completely. Raven raised a hand to his forehead, letting out a long sigh. My patience has reached its limit. The guard bowed and announced, His Highness the Crown Prince has arrived. Let him in. Raven pushed the door and entered, bowing. Highest respects to Father Emperor. The Emperor carried a smile on his lips. Long time no see. What wind blows you here so early? Raven straightened his body, looking straight ahead. I have something I wish to discuss with you. Father. The Emperor leaned back in his armchair, letting out a laugh. I heard from Duke Prince. Heard Saravi visited you last night. Yes. The Emperor leaned forward. What happened? Did you two sleep together last night? Raven turned his head abruptly. What are you saying? I have absolutely no interest in Saravi. The Emperor stopped, smiling. The Duke suggests you two marry. Isn't this a happy thing? Raven lowered his eyes. I repeat, I have no interest in her. I have said this many times. Just many times. The Emperor picked up his teacup, looking at Raven sitting opposite him. Really? Instead of always pushing her away, why can't you get along nicely like when you were children? The Prince family is the Empire's most prominent nobility. His daughter says she likes you. You should feel happy about it. Raven clenched his teeth, lowering his head and closing his eyes. Saravi put drugs in my food. The Emperor stared at Raven in silence. The Emperor reached out and picked up his teacup. Do you want me to arrest the Duke of Prine's daughter? Raven suddenly looked up. Father. The Emperor raised the cup to drink, hiding the expression on his face. A knock came from the door. A guard announced in a low voice, Your Majesty, Duke Prince has arrived. The Emperor stood up from the sofa. Finally here. Slow enough indeed. Let's talk another time. Raven, you may leave. Raven stood up abruptly. Is dealing with nobles more important than your own son? The Emperor stopped. You should know clearly how this country's economy works. It relies entirely on those nobles. Only when nobles bow to the Emperor can the order of the country be maintained. The Emperor walked toward the door, his steps steady. To prevent them from having stray thoughts, we must occasionally give them some sweetness. Socializing with nobles is the Emperor's duty. Raven turned around abruptly, questioning loudly. Do you know what dirty deeds those nobles you love so much do in secret? The Emperor stopped, closed his eyes, and let out a light sigh. Perhaps because you are still young, you cannot understand. You lack flexibility. Raven clenched his fists. If I acted as I pleased, countless heads would fall. One mistake would bury the lives of thousands of soldiers. If I compromised, the people around me would have died long ago. The Emperor walked away. Even so, that stiff character of yours won't make you a qualified emperor. The door opened. The Emperor walked out of the palace. Raven stared at that back. Is it because the Emperor is flexible enough that everyone around him died? On that throne climbed upon the trampled flesh and blood of those around you. Only you can show such a gentle smile. Raven raised the corners of his mouth. How happy that must be. The Emperor turned his head, his eyes turning cold. What did you say? Well said. The Emperor burst into laughter. The laughter echoed in the palace dome. The Emperor patted Raven's shoulder. Seems you possess another necessary quality to be Emperor. Now I am relieved. Raven remained silent, watching the Emperor's retreating back. The Emperor put on a white cape and strode out the door. What exactly am I expecting from that man? Days later, Raven sat at a wooden desk, reviewing a pile of letters alone. Raven sat in the chair, stretching his arms upward. I am tired, but my mind is unusually clear. Raven opened his eyes. His pupils constricted slightly. Saravi walked toward Raven holding a tray. Raven, I expressed my feelings for you with cookies. Raven stood in place, responding expressionlessly. Stay away from me. Only when Saravi isn't here do I have a moment of peace. That woman is just a scourge of the social circles. I really want to drive her away. Is there any way? A knocking sound came from outside. Raven put down his hand. Come. A maid pushed the door open, bowing. Your Highness, Miss Mariette has arrived. Raven rose from a desk. So it's today. I know. The maid stepped aside to clear the path, gesturing with her hand. Please walk this way. Raven walked toward the drawing room. The maids gathered together, whispering. His Highness seems in a good mood today. I think so too. Indeed. Feel like someone is staring at me. Is it an illusion? The maids leaned close to each other, lowering their voices. This is the first time His Highness is having tea alone with a woman, right? That's right. Really curious about his relationship with Miss Mariette. Is it that kind of relationship? Raven stopped walking. I heard everything. The maids panicked, bowing and making incoherent excuses. Very sorry. We were just too happy. After all, everyone cares. Raven turned around, staring at the maids huddled together. Also, she is not here to confess. Don't get the wrong idea. The maids timidly shrank their necks and agreed. Raven walked into the garden, looking at Mariette across the round table. I heard you have something to say to me. Mariette crossed her hands, lowering her head to avoid his gaze. Yes. Raven picked up his teacup, taking a light sip of black tea. They actually said it was a confession. Mariette shouted her feelings loudly. I like you. Raven sprayed out his tea. He began coughing violently. Mariette looked straight ahead. You don't need to respond. Just looking at you. That makes me very happy. Raven froze in his seat. Mariette lowered her eyes. The person I love, deeply obtaining happiness, is my happiness. I believe this from the bottom of my heart. Sunlight spilled into the garden. White clouds floated in the blue sky. Raven lowered his head and chuckled, laughter spilling through his fingers. Are you really telling the truth? Mariette twisted her fingers anxiously. Of course it's true. Mariette stared at the table and picked up her teacup, gulping down the warm tea. This is the first time I've received such a sudden confession. It really surprises me. Raven rubbed the corner of his eye with his fingertip. Miss seems to be a pure and warm-hearted person. Mariette remained silent. Raven stopped smiling to observe the other's reaction. What's wrong? Did I laugh too much? Raven straightened his back, his tone returning to calm. Sorry, my laughing wasn't mocking your feelings. Raven closed his eyes, brows slightly knitted. It was because of other reasons. Mariette suddenly leaned her body close softly. Raven opened his eyes abruptly. His golden pupils constricted suddenly. Mariette collapsed on the patterned carpet. Miss Mariette, Maid screamed and ran toward the garden. Quick, get a doctor. Raven knelt on one knee, supporting the fallen body. Raven's eyes suddenly widened. His golden pupils trembled. Your Highness, where are you going? Saravi hid behind the bushes. Raven clenched his teeth, his golden pupils trembling violently. You dare do such a thing? Saravi shrank back. No, it's not like that. Saravi hid in the shadow of the bushes, watching Mariette in the distance. Mariette was standing alone by the round table. Looking around, Saravi took a paper packet from her bosom. Fingertips holding the edge, she slowly tore it open. White powder slid from the paper, falling into the exquisite teacup, dissolving rapidly in the liquid. Saravi's purple eyes were filled with horror, breathing becoming rapid. That woman really put an aphrodisiac in the tea. What if Raven comes? Should I leave now or knock over the teacup? Saravi concealed in the shadows, corners of her mouth hooking upward. No, I need a more thorough revenge. Saravi crouched behind the bushes, parting the dense leaves to observe the movement in the garden. Saravi raised her arm and threw a black object forward. Mariette started in surprise, looking at the foreign object rolling to her feet. Mariette stood by the round table, looking toward the empty garden entrance. Your Highness? A stone rolled to her feet, making a crisp sound. Mariette suddenly turned her head to look at the empty corridor. Mariette pushed open the heavy wooden door. Miss Mariette, is there anything you need help with? Mariette stopped, stammering. When will His Highness the Crown Prince come? Saravi swapped the teacups. I think he will be here soon. Mariette nodded to the outside. I see. Thank you. Mariette let out a long breath, her tense shoulders relaxing. She stopped, letting out a sound of doubt. Feels different from just now. Saravi hid behind the bushes. Did she discover it? Mariette held her cheeks, looking at the bouquet on the table. Flowers are blooming beautifully. Mood is much lighter too. Saravi turned her head, letting out a cold snort. I will make you lose face completely in front of Raven. Tell him you put aphrodisiac in his cup. Help! Miss Mariette, quick, call a doctor. Saravi turned her face, purple eyes trembling. What happened? Raven frowned, golden pupils burning with anger, staring dead ahead. You dare do such a thing? Saravi froze in place, purple pupils constricting suddenly. Cold sweat slid from her forehead. That kind of look. Why would he look at me with that kind of look? Last night, I found a hair in your bedroom. The color was identical to Mariette's hair. I told you there was no one else in the room but me. Saravi raised her voice. There was definitely someone there. I heard you were meeting Mariette alone, so I was worried and came to check. I saw her put drugs in your cup with my own eyes. I thought it was aphrodisiac again. To make her ashamed, I swapped the cups. Raven froze in place, eyes sharp. Mariette put poison in your cup. Raven turned his head abruptly. She actually. The attendant walked quickly to Raven's side. Your Highness. The attendant leaned close to Raven's ear. In Miss Mariette's dress, we found the same poison components as in the teacup, currently ruled as suicide. Raven clenched his teeth, golden pupils trembling. No, this isn't suicide. Mariette would absolutely not seek death. She was murdered. Poison was indeed found in Mariette's dress, but there is no evidence indicating Miss Saravi planted the poison. In this situation, condemning the daughter of the Prince family as a criminal is a difficult judgment to make even for His Highness the Crown Prince. The final conclusion is that she chose to commit suicide. Until the end, he probably suspected me. Damien lowered his eyes. Yes. Saravi crossed her hands in front of her body. Did I really kill her? Although I don't know clearly, I don't think Miss Saravi is the killer. Saravi looked up in astonishment. Why do you think that? Damien lowered his gaze. How should I say it? I just have this feeling. Saravi froze in place. I don't think Miss Saravi would do that kind of thing. Saravi lowered her head to look at the ground. I understand. Thank you, Damien. Saravi closed her eyes, knitting her brows and letting out a muffled groan. Emily stood to the side with hands crossed, smiling. Saravi raised both hands to press her temples. Who should I ask? It's really distressing. Emily walked to the table. You seem to be worried about something again. Emily leaned down close. Miss, what are you doing? Saravi picked up a strand of hair with her fingertips. I don't remember the origin of this hair. Just worrying about who to ask. Emily tilted her head, revealing a brilliant smile. How about asking me? Saravi stopped her movements, turning to look at the maid by her side. Do you know something? Emily raised a finger. Please think carefully. Is there no one with the same hair color as this hair? Saravi's eyes suddenly widened. Purple pupils constricted violently, reflecting Rosalind's figure. Could it be Rosalind? Rosalind stood in the middle of the corridor, waving toward the back. Hey! Quick, come here. Saravi stopped. Is Raven secretly meeting a lover in the bedroom tonight? Rosalind turned her head, revealing a smile. That's right. So why don't you go confirm who that person is? Saravi froze in place, purple pupils trembling. That's impossible. Saravi lowered her head, avoiding the other's gaze. Rosalind stared at Saravi. Why are you so certain? Saravi turned her back to Rosalind. Because Raven. Raven went to the office in the early morning. Saravi hid behind a stone pillar watching. He works all day. He still has hard training. Goes straight back after finishing. Saravi put hands on hips, looking forward. He has no time to meet women at all. That is definitely a rumor. Let's go. Saravi turned to leave. Rosalind grabbed Saravi's arm. But His Highness the Crown Prince leads the army, right? Do you think for someone like him, moving secretly while avoiding ordinary people's eyes would be a difficult thing? Rosalind lowered her eyes. Perhaps during this time, he has been conducting secret dates inside the palace all along. Saravi froze in place, purple pupils trembling violently. What? Secret dates in the palace? Rosalind raised a hand, pointing forward. Calm down first. Since you're not sure yet, why not go confirm it first? Saravi refused flatly. It's not like that. Saravi looked straight ahead. Raven said he has no interest in women. Rosalind turned her head to stare at Saravi's face. When was this? Will you confess to him? Saravi was expressionless. Yes. Rosalind stared at Saravi. He might be lying. Saravi crossed her hands. Raven wouldn't tell that kind of lie. If he had someone he liked, he would definitely tell me honestly. Besides, he wouldn't date secretly in the palace. With his personality, he'd probably go straight out to enjoy a date. Rosalind, you aren't lying to me, are you? Rosalind stepped back abruptly. That's impossible. Saravi looked gloomy. If that's really the case, there is only one conclusion. Someone has targeted Raven and is attempting to break into his bedroom. Saravi radiated a chill. I must protect Raven. Rosalind froze in place, speechless. For some reason, I felt uneasy. Although I tried to stop you, you didn't listen to my advice at all. In the end, you still snuck into Prince Raven's room. You even said you found a hair. But when Miss Rosalind came over the next day, her behavior was very strange. Saravi stood in the empty hall. Rosalind, what's wrong? Emily clasped her hands. Just now, when you left briefly, she was going in and out of the room, rummaging everywhere. She must be looking for that hair. Saravi waved her hand. It's not like that. It's okay. Don't worry. Emily froze in place, making a sound of confusion. Not long ago, inside Saravi's room, Saravi pushed the door and entered. Rosalind, what are you doing there? Rosalind's body trembled. She closed her eyes tightly and let out a whimper. Saravi. Rosalind knelt to the side, covering her cheek. I dropped a hairpin. I'm looking everywhere for it. Saravi stared at the empty floor. Hairpin? Saravi straightened up. Doesn't seem to be here. Rosalind lowered her head. That was one I just bought. Saravi looked around the room. What style is it? If I find it, I'll bring it to you. Rosalind opened her arms and fell backward. No, if you find it, just keep it. Rosalind covered her mouth, coughing violently. Saravi held her shoulder. Are you okay? Did you catch a cold? Rosalind avoided her gaze. Nothing serious. Saravi stared at Rosalind. Then shouldn't you be resting at home? Rosalind sat on the sofa, lowering her head and coughing. I came because I was worried about you. You snuck into His Highness the Crown Prince's bedroom. You weren't scolded? Saravi lowered her eyes. It's okay. Although Raven was a bit angry. Rosalind looked up. Really? But there was indeed no one there, right? Sorry. Seems the rumor was false. Saravi looked out the window. No, someone was there. Rosalind suddenly leaned forward. Really? Saravi looked straight ahead. Yes, I saw someone escape from the window. Saravi leaned close to Rosalind's ear. As evidence, I even found a hair. Now I just need to figure out whose hair that is. Rosalind lowered her eyes. I see. Rosalind concealed herself in the shadows, the corners of her mouth hooking up. What color was that hair? Saravi answered softly. Red. Saravi rested her chin on her hand, falling into deep thought. Who exactly dared to do such a bold thing? Rosalind lowered her head in silence, her face hidden by strands of hair. Saravi, you really are a complete idiot. Sunlight shone into the magnificent palace hall. That hair, could it be Mariette's? Saravi turned her head abruptly. A drop of cold sweat seeped from her forehead. Mariette. Rosalind nodded slightly. The color does look very similar. If it's red hair, she is the first person I think of. Saravi lowered her eyes. That is also possible. I always thought she was a good person. Rosalind's mouth turned up. Mariette has always been interested in Prince Raven. This is indeed very possible. Emily stopped her work. Miss Mariette? Emily walked in front of Saravi, hands crossed in front of her. But Mississippi, that color, it's identical to Miss Rosalind's. Saravi turned her head abruptly to stare at Emily. So what? Rosalind would absolutely not do that kind of thing. She's just helping me out of kindness. Don't suspect her. Emily bowed in agreement. Yes. Days later. Sunlight shone on the street. Emily walked on the street with a basket in the crook of her arm, holding a list. Shoes and dress retrieved. Now only perfume is left. Emily stopped and looked deep into an alley. Who is that? Those two are Miss Rosalind and Miss Mariette. Emily hid behind a wooden crate, holding her breath to peek. Rosalind leaned close to Mariette's ear, whispering. Mariette nodded repeatedly, a smile appearing on her face. Emily shrank back, her right hand tightly clutching the front of her clothes. Her pupils constricted from trembling. Emily picked up the basket and ran on the street. Must go back quickly. Tell Miss about this. Emily rushed to the door, right hand pressing the metal handle. I was terrified. Just ran all the way like this. Come back. Emily's movements froze. Wait, is Miss Rosalind already here? Emily let go of the handle, quickly hiding behind a stone pillar in the corridor, holding her breath to observe. The door pushed open a crack. Rosalind stepped out of the room. Then I'll get going. Saravi stood inside the door. Thank you, Rosalind. Saravi waved goodbye. Please be careful. Emily hid behind the pillar, watching the two say goodbye. Mississippi, I have something important to tell you. Saravi stopped her movements. What is it? Emily. Emily tightly clasped her hands. Today when I went out for errands, I saw Miss Rosalind and Miss Mariette. They were whispering to each other. They kept observing the surroundings vigilantly. They looked very intimate. Saravi crossed her arms over her chest. That is natural. Emily froze in place. Wait, Miss, you already knew? Saravi stared at Emily. The person who administered the drug was Mariette. Rosalind came just now specifically to tell me this. Mariette indeed has designs on Raven, and she planned to confess to Raven, and even asked to meet him alone. Emily's eyes widen. Is this true? Saravi walks to the door, so there can be no mistake. Mariette is the culprit. Emily watches Saravi's back. Mississippi, do you really believe that? Perhaps there's another possibility. Saravi abruptly waves her arm. We have no time to dawdle. She's trying to meet him alone to confess, looking for another chance to drug him. I must stop this before Raven gets hurt. Emily stands in place and calls out softly, Miss. Saravi arrives at the appointed garden, and she misunderstood everything. Why you doubt me? Raven frowns. You did something behind my back, didn't you? Tell me the truth. Saravi steps forward. She shouts back, that's not true. I told you Mariette put poison in the cup. I just switched the teacups. Raven stares at Saravi. His eyes are cold. Mariette is not that kind of person. Saravi freezes on the spot. Her violet pupils contract violently. Then what about me? Saravi clenches her fists. Her body trembles slightly. Am I the kind of person who would do such a thing? Saravi holds her head with both hands. She lets out a scream. Raven raises a hand to press his forehead. Here we go again. The white plate flips in the air. Dark red liquid splashes among the flowers. Desserts scatter on the ground. But after that, when Miss came back, she said something strange. Something strange? Saravi pushes open the heavy wooden door. Emily runs quickly to Saravi. Miss, I heard what happened. How did it go? Saravi presses her chest with one hand, gasping for breath. Raven seems to think I killed Mariette, to be treated as a murderer. This is too frustrating. Emily clasps her hands together. Miss, he must be heartbroken. Saravi covers her face with both hands. Why is there no one willing to believe me? Emily leans in close. Please tell me what exactly happened. Mariette put an aphrodisiac in Raven's cup, so I switched their cups. However, it wasn't an aphrodisiac. It was poison. Emily's eyes widened. That's impossible. Mariette has no feelings for Raven at all. Emily stands by the table, head down in thought. I see. She intended to poison the prince from the very beginning. No, Mariette is not the killer. Emily tilts her head in confusion. What if she really put the poison in? Sarabi rests her chin on her hand. I definitely saw her put something in the cup with my own eyes. But Mariette is not the culprit. Sarabi lifts her head. In other words, Sarabi holds up a brown notebook. The pen tip slides quickly across the paper. This is the full picture, since both the prince and the lady were present. Yet both say Mariette is not the killer. Emily nods slightly. Yes, what exactly happened that day? Sarabi crosses her arms. Her violet eyes look cold. Sunlight falls on the white spires of the mansion. Two maids whisper in the hallway. I heard the festival fireworks will be grander than previous years. Really? Then I must go see them. Do you have someone to go with? Please don't ask that. The maid covers her mouth with her hand, letting out a soft laugh. Sarabi walks from the end of the hallway. Her figure looks frail in the light and shadow. Miss, are the preparations for the festival going smoothly? Sarabi stops walking, responds in a low voice. Yes, good morning. The maids watch Sarabi leave, staring at the back, pushing open the main door. I saw Rosalind and Mariette whispering to each other. First, I need to find out what those two were talking about. I'll go ask Rosalind. The carriage stops in front of the mansion. Emily sits on the sofa and shakes her head gently. Lady Rosalind seems to be out. I heard she went out early this morning. Sarabi straightens her back, staring ahead. In that case, let's go to the palace. I must ask Prince Raven personally about the truth of what happened that day. The carriage wheels turn, passing through the dense, tree-lined avenue, speeding towards the palace. The white, domed palace shines under the scorching sun. Green leaves cover half the view. Sarabi walks through the empty long corridor, heels clicking on the red carpet. Two guards stand on either side of the carved door. You shouldn't have any schedule today. You should be somewhere in the residence. Sarabi stops and looks at the closed door. Whispered conversation comes from inside. Sarabi leans against the wall, staring at the cold relief decorations, holding her breath to eavesdrop on the room. Rosalind. Raven stands in front of Rosalind. Thank you for telling me. I had completely forgotten about this. Sarabi holds her breath. Her violet pupils tremble slightly. Rosalind crosses her hands over her chest, looking at Raven. I just wanted to help. Raven's mouth corners lift slightly. As a token of gratitude, would you be my partner for the festival? Rosalind freezes. Me? Raven extends his right hand. Yes. Sarabi hides behind the door, her body trembling slightly. Rosalind clasps her hands against her chest. I would be honored. Raven withdraws his hand. Then I'll leave the preparations to you. Raven turns and leaves. Rosalind stands there, watching him go. Sarabi peeks out from the shadows. What was that just now? Those two, are they dating? Sarabi. Rosalind calls out softly. She covers her mouth with her hand. Since when have you been there? It's embarrassing to be seen like this. Rosalind lowers her head. I didn't expect your highness to care about me so much. I just wanted to help him. Sarabi is expressionless. Rosalind, I have something to ask you. Sarabi steps forward, staring into Rosalind's eyes. Rosalind shrinks back. What? The atmosphere is completely different from usual. It feels like she might slap me at any moment. Is your highness still nearby? This is so annoying. It's not my fault your highness likes me. Sarabi is expressionless. What did you talk about with Mariette that day? Rosalind freezes. Huh? Sarabi tilts her head, staring at her. Can you tell me in detail what you and Mariette talked about that day? Rosalind slumps her shoulders. This isn't the reaction I expected. Raven just asked me out. How can you be so calm? Rosalind looks away. What did you say? Sarabi stares at Rosalind. Tell me, the details of your conversation with Mariette that day. I already told you everything back then. Mariette had feelings for Prince Raven. She begged me to help arrange a meeting. I just conveyed the message to Prince Raven. That's all. Sarabi turns her face. Is that so? Is there really nothing else I don't know? Even the smallest thing. Rosalind lowers her head. No. More importantly, in this situation, is that really what you care about? Sarabi blinks. Right? It's great that you can go on a date. Congratulations. Sarabi closes her eyes. The corners of her mouth lift slightly. That's right. If those two are together, it's actually more convenient for me. I can get rid of two troublesome people at once. This is important to me. I have one last thing to ask you. Rosalind freezes, looking confused. Mariette, is it true that she liked Prince Raven? Rosalind stiffens. How much does she actually know? Sarabi remains expressionless, waiting for an answer. Damien tilts his head back, pouring water from a bottle down his throat. Sweat slides down his neck. Sarabi walks in quickly. Mr. Damien. He suddenly chokes on the water, coughing violently. Turns his head. Lady Sarabi. Sarabi looks at him. About the time Prince Raven and Mariette had tea. Can you tell me more details? Damien freezes. Damien puts down the water bottle. I don't know much, but Lady Mariette said she didn't have any romantic feelings for the prince. Did you ask her why she thought that? Damien looks down at the ground. No. After tea that day, the prince said the same thing to me. Mariette didn't like Prince Raven, but she wasn't the one who poisoned him either. What exactly happened that day? Why do both Sarabi and the prince conclude that Mariette didn't like the prince? Why would she poison the prince's teacup? And why conclude she isn't the real culprit? Sarabi messes up her hair with both hands. I really want to go ask the prince himself. Raven stands at the edge of the terrace, looking down at the two below. What are you doing? Sarabi jumps up in surprise. Your Highness. Raven rests his chin on his hand, staring at Sarabi below. Raven jumps down from the terrace, landing steadily in front of the two. What were you whispering about just now? Why can he show such a calm expression? After hearing those past events from Rosalind, shouldn't he be planning to distance himself from me? Should I ask him directly? No, there's no need to dig up old grievances and anger him. Disappearing quietly like this is the best strategy. Damien looks into Raven's eyes. What happened that day? The day you had tea with Lady Mariette. Raven looks at Sarabi. You were there too, weren't you? Sarabi looks away. Lady Sarabi hasn't fully recovered her memory yet. After all, she experienced that explosion accident not long ago. Could you please tell us? Raven leans against the stone wall. One day, Rosalind came to find me. She conveyed Mariette's request to meet alone. Sarabi sits on the bench. Rosalind really did request such a thing. Raven crosses his arms over his chest. I refused, but she tried to persuade me with a tempting story. Sarabi looks up sharply. A tempting story? She said that doing so would make you leave me. She said if I met another woman. Sarabi's mental resilience is weaker than tofu. She absolutely wouldn't be able to handle such a blow. Sarabi jumps up. What nonsense is she talking about? Raven lifts his chin. That was quite a novel idea, because that was a method I had never tried. Sarabi holds her forehead with one hand. So, the reason Rosalind told me the meeting place was to shake me? Did she pretend to be friends with Sarabi, not for Sarabi's good, but to bully her? Sarabi opens her eyes wide. But why did Raven never mention Rosalind before? And now he suddenly tells me this. Raven looks down at the two on the bench. So, do you know the new facts now? What are you saying? Raven takes a step forward. Do you know who killed Mariette? Sarabi bites her lower lip. The situation has gotten worse. Although I didn't expect to be safe and sound, I didn't expect him to ask this question. Raven stands in the sunlight, watching Sarabi. That woman was despicable and terrible. Perhaps I was also too shocked. I completely forgot about that incident, right? Sarabi thinks, what should I do? I seem to have touched his trauma. My memory of that time isn't clear. Raven's mouth corners lift, letting out a soft chuckle. Raven reaches out and clasps Sarabi's face. Then let me help you. Remember, it might be a little painful. A scream cuts through the sky above the palace. Raven sits at a round table, looking at Mariette opposite him. I heard you have something to say to me. Mariette lowers her eyes. Yes. Raven lifts his teacup. What kind of confession is this? Mariette shouts, I love you. Raven spurts out his tea. Mariette clasps her hands. This is a secret hard to speak of, but I have to confess. I have fallen in love with a beautiful person. Lord Scheherazade. Raven stands still, looking at Mariette. Scheherazade? That's too sudden. Are you talking about that relative of mine? Mariette nods repeatedly. Yes, that's him. Raven spreads his hands. If you want to see him, why not go see him yourself? He is a friendly person. It's not hard to see him. Mariette holds her face with her hands. Of course I know. I have always been watching him from afar. Raven shows a confused expression. In that case, why? Mariette presses her chest. But my feelings for him aren't just a simple infatuation. I don't wish to get close to him physically or emotionally. Just watching him makes me happy. Just thinking of him gives me the strength to live on. For him, I'm willing to give everything. Raven remains silent. Mariette eyes widen. I'm very grateful to be born in a world where he exists. This is unconditional love. For this person, Raven looks at Mariette. What on earth is she thinking? Mariette's mouth corners lift. She lets out a clear laugh. Does this sound strange? Yes. Raven looks at Mariette. No. Raven makes a fist against his lips. Coughs lightly. This isn't a common feeling, is it? Even if he doesn't respond to my feelings, it doesn't matter. As long as I can watch him, I feel happy. Raven freezes in place. The happiness of the one I love is my happiness. Mariette lowers her eyes. From the bottom of my heart, I have always believed so. Sunlight pierces through the clouds, spilling over the entire garden. Raven lowers his head and covers his face, letting out a soft laugh. Are you serious? Mariette straightens her back. Of course, I'm serious. Mariette picks up the cup, swallows the tea in large gulps. This is the first time I've received such a sudden confession. Raven rubs the corner of his eye with his hand. You are a pure and warm-hearted lady. Mariette remains silent. Is something wrong? Raven opens his eyes wide, staring ahead. Mariette collapses on the patterned carpet, eyes closed tight. Someone, save Lady Mariette. Call a doctor. The person Mariette loved was not Raven, but Scheherazade. Raven and I both kept silent about this, because Mariette said it was a secret. She was too shy, unable to speak to anyone. That was her shyness buried deep in her heart. Wait, then what about Rosalind? What exactly did Rosalind talk about with Mariette to get Mariette introduced to the Crown Prince? Mariette would never use the Crown Prince to meet Scheherazade. The opposite situation would be more reasonable. Mariette didn't want to meet Scheherazade directly. That wasn't that kind of worldly love. Although I don't know if this world has such a term. But this girl, she treated Scheherazade as her bias. Mariette was an otaku. What happened just now? I showed Saravi my memory. Damien points at himself. What about me? What am I? Raven stands aside in silence. How does it feel to learn the new truth? Damien points to himself. Was I ignored? Even so, I still don't know who put the poison in. Saravi suddenly screams. What on earth am I saying? In front of a person traumatized by me. Raven crosses his arms. Do you think Mariette was lying? Saravi freezes, makes a confused sound. What is this atmosphere? For someone who thinks I'm the murderer, his behavior is too gentle. Saravi looks at Raven. No, she didn't look like someone who would lie at all. Raven lowers his eyes. I agree. Of all the people involved in this incident, she seemed the most innocent. So the murderer isn't Lady Mariette, right? Judging by the current progress, he doesn't seem to plan on killing me immediately. Thank goodness. Raven turns his body. We shouldn't jump to conclusions too early. Anyone can wear a mask of disguise, right? Saravi looks down and twists her fingers. What exactly do you want to say? Are you curious who the real culprit is? Of course. Please let it not be me. Please, Your Highness. Do you already know who it is? I do have someone in mind, but there are still some puzzle pieces that don't fit. Saravi lowers her head. Puzzle. The setting sun shrouds the magnificent palace. Flowers sway in the afterglow. Light pierces the clouds, illuminating the entire building. Emily looks at Saravi. Lady Mariette's crush was actually Lord Scheherazade. Saravi nods in response, and Emily clenches her fists. I knew it. Didn't I tell you several times? That woman Rosalind looks dangerous. Why just won't you listen to me? Saravi sits on the bed, showing a helpless look. Emily turns away. What a terrible person to deceive a pure young lady and do such a vicious thing. Saravi reaches out to gently stroke Emily's back. Emily, calm down. Did I say something unnecessary? Hurry and help me change. Emily, miss, please put on your clothes. Saravi tilts her head, makes a confused sound. Today is that special day. Saravi looks up, her eyes full of confusion. That day, Emily clenches her fists. The day you go on a date with a man for the first time. Lord Damien has already arrived. Saravi opens her eyes wide. That's not a date at all. Emily waves her hands. The festival is coming soon. A gentleman visiting a lady alone. This must be a date invitation. Start changing now. Saravi leans back. No, I don't want to go. Emily stops her movements, turns to look at the door. He's already here. The guard pushes open the heavy wooden door. Lord Damien has arrived. Emily hides behind Saravi, covering her cheeks with both hands. Look how nervous he is. This is definitely a date invitation. Saravi turns her head. Emily, calm down. Damien bows. I have something I must confirm. So I visited presumptuously. Emily clasps her hands together, placing them on her chest. It must be an invitation to the festival. Saravi looks at the man in front of her. Is something the matter? This might be sudden. Damien frowns, a drop of sweat beads on his forehead. Could you let me see the memory regarding the prince you saw just now? Emily freezes. Saravi remains silent. Saravi looks at Damien. So it was about that. I told you it wasn't a date. Damien lowers his eyes. The prince didn't. Show me those memories. Saravi repeats the word puzzle pieces. Raven nods. The puzzle will be completed on the day of the festival. Saravi sits on the sofa, softly repeating festival. Raven nods silently. Raven leans in close, hands supporting himself on either side of Saravi. Facts confirmed. You can go back now. I'll see you to the carriage. Raven turns his face to stare at Damien. What was that? Do you have a lot of free time? Raven turns his head. His gaze lands on Saravi. And you've worked here so long. Do you still not know the way? Damien lowers his head to explain. I just wanted to show the way. Raven waves to cut him off. I don't want to hear any excuses. Go back to the carriage yourself immediately. Damien bows to Saravi, then turns and leaves. Damien chases quickly after him. Your Highness, about the memories you didn't show just now. Saravi sits alone on the bench. So why was I the one getting scolded? The result is as always. Damien sits on the sofa. In the end, I couldn't get anything out of the prince. He looked to be in a very bad mood. Hard to approach. Damien looks at Saravi opposite him. What exactly did you see? Is the memory something I shouldn't know? Saravi closes her eyes, a bitter smile on her lips. That terrible personality. No, it's not like that. Saravi looks out the window. Lady Mariette confessed to the prince, but the content was, I love Lord Scheherazade. Damien holds his chin, falling into thought. So her beloved was Scheherazade, and not the prince? Saravi nods to confirm. Exactly. That's all. This makes things even stranger. In that case, Lady Mariette had no reason to use the prince, and no need to ask Rosalind to arrange a meeting. Saravi presses her temples. My head hurts. Emily takes out a paper packet from her bosom. Hand it to Saravi. Please use this. It's a painkiller. Saravi takes the pill. Thank you. Emily clasps her hands together, resting them against her cheek. I prepared medicine in advance for moments like this. Finally, it came in handy. Of course, health is most important. Saravi reaches out to pat Emily's head gently. Anyway, you were a big help. Thank you. It just feels like the order of things is a bit wrong. Emily freezes, softly repeating the word wrong. What if Rosalind lied? If she used Lady Mariette to assassinate the prince? Saravi raises her hand to signal, rejecting this hypothesis. Rosalind specifically told me about the meeting. It was to make me go and stop it. If her target was the prince, there would be no reason to give me this opportunity. Damien sits opposite and nods in agreement. If assassination was the goal, doing this would only lower the success rate. Saravi's pupils tremble slightly. Wait a minute. If Rosalind's target wasn't the prince? Damien lowers his head in thought. Could it be Lady Mariette? Saravi looks at Damien. If that's the case, it makes sense. If she noticed I was hiding there, the prince would naturally suspect me. Rosalind turns her face, surprise in her eyes. Me? Is that so? That was her expression at the time. Raven extends a hand, smiling. That's right. Saravi lowers her eyes. Rosalind likes the prince. If she wanted to get rid of Mariette and didn't want to dirty her own hands, she would use me. Saravi's pupils dilate in shock. She could even make the prince hate me more, killing two birds with one stone. Emily steps forward. We must tell the prince immediately. Otherwise, you'll be misunderstood for the rest of your life. Saravi turns her head, eyes cast down. Currently, this is just my imagination. Even if it is the fact, we need Rosalind to admit it herself. She won't speak easily. Damien sits on the sofa, hands clasped tight. I agree. I'm afraid there's no evidence anymore, and I can't imagine Lady Rosalind would confess. Saravi looks straight at Damien. How can you be so sure? Damien is silent for a moment. Avoid her gaze. Just a hunch. The three fall into silence. Emily sighs with her head down. Indeed. Saravi nods. She gives off the kind of feeling. Emily looks at Saravi. Anxious. Is there really no way to prove your innocence? Saravi lowers her eyes, lets out a long sigh. Probably not. There's no way to force someone to tell the truth. Saravi suddenly opens her eyes wide, pupils contracting sharply. Tell the truth. Wait. Emily leans in. Did you think of something? Damien stops what he is doing. Away? There is one person who can do it, even against the other's will. He can forcibly extract the truth. Crown Prince Raven. Night falls. The palace lights up in the deep blue night. The fountain continues to surge under the moonlight. Moonlight penetrates high windows, illuminating the empty corridor. A figure in a black cloak moves through. Footsteps echo in the silence. Stops in front of the carved wooden door. A hand reaches for the hood. Fingertips hook the edge and slowly pull it back. Rosalind reveals her face. Hair slides down her shoulders. She stares ahead with a cold gaze.